Hello and welcome back to Crimes, Lies, and Alibis. My name is Nicole. I am doing video number 5 for the Jennifer Soto Police interviews. I went back a little bit from my last video to kind of pick up where I left off. Thank you to Geisla K from Grizzly True Crime for allowing us to use your platform to have these videos. Very kind of you. If you somehow have found me but do not know who she is, she's really amazing. You should check her out. And also a shout out to Strategic Eye for being awesome on this case as well and very insightful. If you have not found Strategic Eye, I suggest you look for him as well. So to kind of recap, Officer Kevin or Detective Kevin is kind of grilling. I really need to look up this other detective's name because I feel bad for not knowing it. Are continuing to grill Jen on everything that involves Stefan's coming and going, and she clearly has not really been holding him accountable. There's a lot of her not really being upfront about what she thinks he did that day. I mean, she gives us a story, but I think it's safe to say that it's not 100% authentic. So I'm going to kind of pick up where it left off so you can see where we were.
There's no conversation I can think of where he's named interest in being anywhere near woods or it being along his way.
You said he got a flat tire. Tell me about the flat tire you got.
So he said he got a flat tire. I'm not sure when he got a flat tire, but he said he got a flat tire and then came directly home, and he got home around 2:40. So flat tire, he said he was driving down 192 and it just popped and shredded and fell apart. And he pulled over into a plaza and changed the tire for the first time in a very long time and said he hurt himself doing it. The frame of the car, something came down on his finger.
All his lies, I don't care, but I want to know what you question him about. Why was he there? What was he doing? There's no way you're the most trusting woman in the world and you just don't ask clarifying questions. I know no relationship I've ever been in is that trusting. He just tells you he's gone at 3 in the morning getting a fucking Wawa and you're like, ah, whatever, bet. Same thing with this. It's like, oh, I got a flat tire, was here. Why is he at these places? Do you not question him? Why were you on 192? Why did you dip out at 3 in the morning with my car?
I didn't know he dipped out.
Because this is 2 times he went to 192. He went to 192 the day she disappeared, right? He's roaming, looking for her, south of where she went missing, because supposedly she went missing. And 192 is south of where that is.
And
not very likely that that's the route she went on foot or abducted, and that him driving around is somehow going to locate her.
And he did tell. I did question that. I was like, when I asked him where he searched and he said 182, I said, why? That's nowhere where she would be. And he didn't give me a clear answer, and I don't know why I didn't push it. I just thought he was being stupid and oblivious, because I don't see him as the smartest man. Like, I don't. I let him do what he does, but I don't trust a lot of his, is the word judgment? I'm not sure, but I just don't trust that he makes the smartest decisions sometimes. Like, he likes to act like the smartest man in the room, but I don't think he is.
Do what he does. Meaning?
I'm sorry?
You said, I let him do what he does.
Yeah.
What's that mean?
If he wants to just get up and go to the store, I'll ask where you're going, but I won't stop him. Just let him go on his way.
That actually sounds really bad. I just let him do what he does. Yeah, I'm sure you do, Jen. You do let him do what he does. That's the damn problem.
Just let him do what he wants to do.
What do you think happened? Monday to now. You know she's deceased. We showed you pictures that she's deceased. We know that she was probably deceased Sunday into Monday. You didn't see her Monday morning.
I still don't want to believe she's deceased. I know
Well,
I know you showed me pictures, but
For
like.
the purpose of this conversation, I need you to believe it because I need you to figure it out. I need you to tell me what you think happened to her.
I think he killed her that night.
How?
I don't know. Could it probably be possible that he drugged her? Could he have choked her? I just don't know how you kill someone and don't leave a mess or don't leave evidence, or I mean, was there a mess? Was there evidence? I haven't gone upstairs. I don't know what you guys have, I barely went into the house today, so I don't know what.
I need to know what you think happened.
Okay, so I did go back a little further than I thought I did, and I'm going to repeat myself from yesterday a little bit. So I don't want to think that she's deceased. What did she just say? She's very specific. She mentions overdose or choked her because it didn't leave a mess. Well, there are ways to kill someone without leaving a huge mess. And she says she didn't go up there today, but I don't think she'd been at the house unless they let her back into it, but I thought it was still closed off. She hadn't been to the house since Tuesday, but she was there all day Tuesday. She somehow didn't see Maddie's crock in her bedroom, which people say that they tell me, usually on Reddit, that her room's a mess and Jen isn't super observant. But I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was one of the first things that law enforcement saw when they went into Jen's room, that Maddie's one crock was in there. And obviously the other one was in Maddie's backpack that was in the trash compactor with her laptop. So I don't understand how Jen could have been there almost all day on Tuesday, not see that crock. And, you know, she just goes right to, maybe she overdosed, maybe he choked her. What if it was accidental, Jen? She fell and hurt herself, broke her neck, whatever, trying to get away from him on the stairs, and he panicked and took her away. You know, there's obviously that didn't happen, but like, she assumes two things, and the second thing that she says that she leans more on in a moment is maybe he choked her, which is exactly what happened. So either she witnessed it, which I don't think so. I do think one of the true things that she has said is that she went upstairs, or she went to bed. I think that's true. I think she did go to bed. But did he tell her what happened? Did she know? They sat in that car together for a long time. They sat there together while Maddie was potentially still in Stefan's trunk before he went to that area where Maddie was found. And like, you can see the different, faces and expressions. Detective Kevin's really losing patience with her, and I'm surprised he's been fairly patient this long. I mean, he's yelled at her a little bit, but she's very infuriating.
I think he killed her.
How? You mentioned drugged her, you mentioned other things. Explain your reasoning behind those assumptions and we'll move forward day by day.
So he had access to benzos and I think Lunesta.
What are those? I'm not familiar with that.
Benzodiazepines are anxiety medications which relax you and can make you sleepy.
Okay.
And Lunesta, I think, is a sleeping medication, like for insomnia. So I don't know if it's possible he gave her something and she was drugged. In those photos that you showed me where you're saying she's dead, maybe she was drugged. But if she is dead and it was done upstairs, I could just only imagine that he choked her. I don't know how else you would kill someone and not leave a mess.
How do you think he got her out?
I have no idea, because roommates come in and out of the house at any given point in the morning and we don't know their schedules. They can come in at any time. You guys showed me a picture, I think, of him or her in the car at 7:30 in the morning. My roommate left the house. She's the one who leaves the earliest. She left at 7:45. So like, what if...
Okay, but Stefan wasn't there because in Natalie's interview from the 27th, she didn't know Stefan was, quote, back until after Maddie went missing. Stefan was already gone. And if he was up by SeaWorld at 7:30, he was probably out of that house by 6:45. Because with traffic and everything else, they don't live next door to SeaWorld. It's still like 15-20 minutes away. And granted, he wasn't in his regular car. He was in his dad's car. So it wasn't a vehicle that Natalie recognized, but still, he was already gone by the time she left at 7:30. She didn't know he was even, quote, back, because she never saw him. Because she says, when Jen told me he was back, I'm like, what do you mean he's back? Because she didn't know he was back. I don't even think she realized he was still in the picture at all, and was annoyed by that because she didn't like him either. No one seemed to. So that would make sense with that timeline, that the roommates would not have seen Maddie with Stefan, because he was already gone before Natalie got up, and Angelica didn't leave her until after Jen had already come back from her blood work appointment, because she didn't have to work until I think 12:30 or so. Like, she works later in the day versus getting up in the morning. So he would have already been gone.
He had waited a little longer, she would have caught him with carrying a body out of the house. How did he do that without being caught or seen? That's what I don't understand, because like, did you guys check and see if any of my neighbors have Ring cameras? Any? Nothing?
I don't know what data we've gotten from them, but at this point I need to know what you think happened to her. I don't need you to ask us what we found.
Okay.
What we found has happened. I need you to come up, in your words, in your mind, what do you think happened that night into Monday, because we do not know.
So this is why I find her behavior interesting. She's asking what they found, as if they're going to disclose to her what they have for evidence. They're not going to tell her that. Why? Because they don't want her saying something to Chris, whom is Stefan's father, to give any kind of warning there. She claims that she really hasn't spoken to Chris, but they don't want to take that risk. They don't want to tell her too much because she has a horrible, huge soft spot for Stefan. And they don't need her filling him with information of what else they know that he doesn't already know that they know. There are things that they have to keep under the hood. They can't tell her about. But she's more curious knowing what they have for evidence than being even remotely helpful right now. The other issue that I have lots of issues, but another issue that I have is this distancing kind of verbiage she uses. Like, he dumped the body, he took the body. She uses words that medical examiners, law enforcement, different people use to kind of distance themselves from a victim, because it becomes too personal when you call someone by their name. And as a parent who wants to tell everybody that this child was their, quote, whole world, it seems weird for her to be using distancing words to describe Maddie. He didn't take Maddie somewhere. He didn't dump Maddie in the wilderness. He didn't abandon Maddie somewhere. He dumped the body. She doesn't talk about her daughter with affection. She doesn't talk about her with any kind of fondness. It's distancing. And this isn't something that is normal for a parent. At least it shouldn't be. Especially with something so fresh. Someone could probably argue with me and be like, well, I don't know, Nicole. Maybe it's easier for her to use the distancing language because, it's just too hard to come to grips with that kind of a reality. And she just wants to be able to be, to wallow in the belief that Maddie's still out there. Maybe. That really shouldn't be a first nature thing for someone who isn't trained to do that. Someone who doesn't have to do that with their job. It's a strange thing for a parent to have that kind of a distanced language when referring to their child, especially when they're doing an interview with law enforcement that's supposed to make them sound like a caring, doting parent. And because she does what Stefan does with the parroting, she says something because it's either something that they've said, like she'll use their exact words. For example, when Detective Kevin used the word causation, she repeated with using the word causation. And it gives the idea that she's telling them what she thinks they want to hear. It's not what they want to hear. They want to know what she knows without her covering for Stefan, because that's all she knows to do is cover for him.
I know if her murder occurred Sunday or Monday. All we know is that when you went to bed, they went to bed together, and she's no longer here. So I need to know what you think happened to her, how he got her out of the house, where he went, how he got her into the car, what is your thought on what happened?
I think she was killed Sunday night into Monday morning. I'm thinking he carried her out of the house. I don't know how he didn't get caught by any of my roommates or no one heard. You're saying he drove all around town. I'm not sure where he could have gone.
And then him coming home and leaving, what do you think? Knowing that he killed her.
That's suspicious as fuck.
It is suspicious as fuck, but if you're writing a book, what do you write? Let's say this is a fiction novel, right? You're now aware that he killed her, so now you can piece together a story of what happened, right? You don't know the story because you're not him, and you tell me he hasn't told you, so it's not real. So you're telling me what you think,
Yeah.
right? We know he killed her. We know he drove out of there Monday morning. We know he discarded her backpack in the trash dumpster. We know he discarded her laptop and one shoe, right? So all her property was discarded to look like she's gone. That way he doesn't have evidence with him. They leave. You've been told that they drove around Orange County, Osceola County, wherever it was. We've pieced that together throughout the week, all right? He's told you where, at least in his version of where he was and what he was doing, right? But then you have all these suspicious times of when he's left and come back and he's gone here and gone there. So what do you think he was doing on all these suspicious times? He's roaming 192. What do you think? Knowing what you know now we can play. You know she's dead. You know that we've given you information. What do you think, knowing what you know, he was doing on 192? He was doing here. He was doing here. He was doing in Northport. What do you think?
So him leaving early in the morning and driving around aimlessly somewhere. I feel like he stashed the body at that time. When he came back and then left again. But see, it's daytime. Like, how could you move a body or move something in daytime and not be seen? But like, I feel like he went back to check to make sure he did a good job, or to move the body again. I don't know. But him leaving the house multiple times without his cell phone is sketchy as fuck. It's so suspicious.
Which is an intentional act. It's not accidental, so that can play into what you think happened.
Yes, sir.
It was intentional. Her cell records and her cell data from her cell phone show it is not common for her to leave her phone at home. It is common for her to go to school with her. No teenager leaves their phone at home. It's what they're attached to it.
She's left her phone home multiple
Her
times.
cell data show.
And see, I brought that up, and I hate that I just interrupted him, but I brought that up in the very beginning. I believe in my very first audio. I don't believe that a teenager who is supposedly on their phone all the time, like Maddie has been described to be, would often and frequently leave her phone at home. Not only that is, supposedly they left early enough, if Jen had an ounce of common sense at all, well, why would she not say, hey, Stefan, I forgot my phone at home, can we go back? They would have had plenty of time. But when a cell phone is pretty much an extension of a person, as most teenagers, it's almost an extra limb. I mean, I'm guilty too. It habitually leaving the phone at home doesn't match. So that should have been a red flag to Jen. But she's sitting here and she, again, is steadfast in the claim that Maddie often forgot her phone at home. And he's saying, well, her cell phone data is proving to not be true. It is proving otherwise. So if Jen is just this super diligent, observant parent when it comes to Maddie, then she would have known that that was not normal. And the suspicious as fuck, sketchy as fuck, I want to punch her every time she says that. The other thing that she does that drives me absolutely bananas is her deep sighing. Like, she can't answer a question without the sigh. Like, stop it. Grow up. You're a grown person. Knock it off. Stop addressing these people like they're your buddies or potentially a therapist. Take this seriously. Stop being a child. Help them find your daughter because you're wasting their time being like this.
Knows that normally it goes with her, so that's intentional. You know it's intentional because he left his too.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's an accident last Friday, this Monday was not an accident. Yeah. So you think that he dumped her when he was driving around? You think that when he left, he went to check her body?
Possibly.
Okay.
Why would you go back out to 182 without your cell phone?
I don't disagree. So he goes out to 192. We think he may have checked where he dropped her or dumped her. He comes home. He tells you he's just roaming around aimlessly. Right?
Yeah.
So that's twice on 192 in one day because he went to look at the House of Cards bullshit or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then he went to do the roaming to look for her on this random highway that he never goes to. Okay. We go into the next day and the next day. Think of the suspicious things he's done. Tell me what you think he's doing.
Him grabbing my phone and trying to log into his emails, that seems kind of suspicious. What was he trying to see? What was he trying to do? The thing is when he had my cell phone, now that I think back to it, he had something wrapped around it, so the phone was under a blanket, and he was like this. But I tried looking at the screen at one point, and I could see an email. But
And that was the cell phone we took from you today, or you gave us today.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Can you guys tell me if this is true? Because I recall a family member telling me something, like my sister. Was the last thing searched on it Amber Alert?
Her cell phone has Amber Alert searches in it, but I looked through her cell phone last night. I do believe that she may have been clicking on links for Amber Alerts that came through. I don't think she was actually searching them.
Okay.
They could have just been links she clicked on.
Okay. Because I wasn't sure if that was him Googling on her phone about Amber Alerts or if that was her.
That we will never know. He is not obviously cooperating.
you guys explain what happened yesterday?
Before that, I need you to continue going with.
Yeah.
See, there it again. She's too distracted with what they know, with what they're doing, with, you know, what they're willing to tell her. She's sidetracking. She's diverting attention away from this conversation because she's obviously tired of doing the round and round. She's not giving them anything up. And at this point, I hope I see something differently that I haven't seen yet. That makes me feel a little better about the fact that they gave Jen immunity. Because so far from what I'm seeing, this is not someone who should have been given immunity for anything, for any reason. And at this point, again, this is all my speculation, all my feelings, because Jen has not been charged with anything. I do not want to make it my habit to where I go after victims. And Jen could be in a way viewed upon as a victim as well, if she's truly innocent in all of this, which is a very thin thread. I have not yet seen anything that states that she deserves any immunity, that she should be held accountable in some way. Even if she doesn't do any jail time, there needs to be this cannot be the precedence that we allow to be set to where a woman can, or a parent, can go to the extent of, I'm going to report my child missing, but then be completely uncooperative as far as telling them any of the things that they need to know. To where a parent like her could be so oblivious, supposedly, or know full well abuse is happening to their child, and not only do nothing about it, but encourage it. Encourage it by, I don't want to deal with them right now, so I'm going to send them to bed together. That's encouraging. Telling them to go upstairs to sleep because she needs a good night's sleep, knowing that they're going to the same bed, is encouraging the behavior. And this can't be something that is legal. This can't be something that we allow and think, oh, well, as long as they can't prove anything was done, which obviously they have all the proof that they need, we can't prove that she knew it was happening. Come on. She knew it was happening because she was telling him to. Go upstairs. I need good sleep.
Where are we at?
Suspicious utilization of your phone.
Yeah. Of the phone. Him disappearing multiple times. Him disappearing to Northport. What the hell was he doing? That is suspicious. I mean, now that I know that that's where he went, that is suspicious as all fuck. Why did he go to a storage unit facility? What was he grabbing? What was he trying to dispose of? Or what was he trying to hide in the... That to me is suspicious.
Do you put more weight on that than 192?
192, no, because 192 would be... Something happened in Northport. There'd be no reason he would take...
Do you understand what I was asking with that phrase? Putting weight on it? Like, do you feel like it's more suspicious what he was doing in Northport versus 192?
I don't know which one's... I don't know which one is more suspicious to me. They both...
Well, I mean, he didn't have Maddie in Northport. Because when he went to Northport, he had Jen's car. And they had already impounded his. Well, there's no place he could have put Maddie to put her in the trunk to go to Northport when he was already being closely watched. That would have been incredibly risky. But he would have had her stashed somewhere. And she says, why did he go? She mentioned the storage unit. So obviously they told her he went to a storage unit. And I believe they did talk about the storage units already in my other videos. Because his parents had liquidated some. I guess they had several. So she knew that he did go to the storage unit. But she said, did he stash something there? Of course he did. And I think she knew what he put there. But see, people like Mr. Stearns, who have longtime victims, and I know this is going to sound really terrible, but it's, just gonna rip that band-aid right off and say, I really don't think Stefan wanted Maddie dead. I think he was deeply in love with her, as disturbing as that is. I think she was his everything, which is gross and just disgusting. But he had bonded with this child, and he has the mentality of a child himself in a grown man's body, because he likes to tinker with toys and video games, and he can't hold down a job, and he can't be responsible. And that is in no way me defending him, because I think he's a vile, disgusting human being, and quite frankly, I hope he does get the death penalty. And not only get the death penalty, but not exhaust appeals until he's a, 70-year-old man dying of natural causes. I really want his life to be over. So I'm not defending him. And even if he's not guilty of murdering Maddie, and not found guilty of murdering Maddie, he is definitely guilty of the sex abuse. Because he had all that CSAM, and he's definitely guilty of that. He had more than 35,000 photos of her. But he had been cultivating a relationship with Maddie since she was 8 years old, in the sense that is when his relationship with her got beyond, this is my girlfriend's daughter. So when he was crying during that interview, when she just let him talk to the news media because she felt he could say more helpful things about Maddie than she could, I guess, he was devastated. Those were not the tears of somebody who maliciously wanted this girl dead. He regretted it. He regretted her not being alive. People like him, who have a sickness and are pedophiles, kind of like I talked about in my Sierra Joggin video, serial killers keep trophies, so do guys like Stefan. That's why he still had the photos on his Google whatever. I have iPhone, so mine is cloud. I don't know exactly what the Google thing is called. But that's why he had so many photos in Google. And that's why he had that drive that had over 35,000 photos. Because his obsession was Maddie, and he didn't want to let go of those. Those were his possessions. So it makes sense as to why he didn't just dump that in the trash compactor with the other stuff, or get rid of it, toss it out anywhere. He could have tossed it in any of the many lakes in that area. He could have tossed it in a trash can in some public area, and it never would have been looked at or found. But he put it somewhere that, if in his narcissistic mind, could get access again someday, because he really doesn't think that he belongs in prison, of course, that he would still have it. And I'm sure that his dad giving it to the authorities upset him more because it's lost to him now versus him looking back. And that might not make sense to people, but I've read enough about criminals and the criminal mind that for some reason there are things that these criminals can't let go of, especially when they have victims that are close to them, like Maddie was to him. So he wasn't going to throw that away. He'd have been smart to. And I think that's also why he only had a few pictures of Angelica from one day. I think that those were photos that he hadn't gotten a chance to delete yet. I think there were more, because I do believe that he was selling photos to different sites to earn money. And that's how he was affording the things that he was buying. But he wouldn't need to keep those photos of Angelica because he didn't have any emotional attachment to her. What probably saved Natalie was having her own bathroom in her own bedroom. I'm sure that's what kind of saved her from being another victim of his. But they did find pictures of Angelica, but there were only a couple. And he had taken the camera underneath the door of the bathroom and took pictures of her while she was utilizing the restroom. I can't imagine he only did that once. He's a creepy man, and he just was very stealthy in what he was able to do to get what he wanted, get the desired images. And in Angelica's video that I'm going to cover, she says that the night that before Maddie went missing, it sounded like he was making constant noise in that room. The whirring, he was using power tools, he was setting stuff down on the table. Just, he was making all sorts of noise in that room, which tells me that they must have a joint wall, maybe. I don't know. But he was doing something. I suspect, personally, I think he was taking down cameras. I have a feeling he had cameras all over that room for different angles. And that's where a lot of those photos came from that were the 34,000 on his drive. He probably had more, but didn't keep. And I'm sure some of them are duplicated or whatever. But that's why he had that driver with so many video. I think he had cameras all over that room. He probably had cameras in Jen's room too. I wouldn't be surprised. But especially room number 4, because that was his place that he did the things.
192 seems to me like the easiest place he could have dumped her, or like figured out where to put her. Unless she was in my trunk the whole time and he went to Northport.
The trunk of your car?
Yeah.
Didn't you drive your car at some point? Did you guys sit in your car at some point?
I did. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I would have probably smelled something, but I didn't. So I'm just trying to think. I'm like, did he stash a body in Northport? No, I don't think so. He's probably hiding something or destroying something. So I guess 192 would probably be the most important right now.
For being in your trunk is oddly specific.
The only reason I say that is because from what you guys have told me, he went directly from the hotel to Northport. I don't think he made any stops anywhere in Kissimmee or anything first and then went to Northport.
All we know is what we can piece together through accessible cameras and data. So his movements, his driving patterns, his actions, we can only 100% say what they are if they're on camera.
Okay.
So we can say he went to Northport because the car was in Northport. Where he stopped, where he went in between, that cannot be factual from us if we don't have a camera. It can just be an assumption, which is why I want your assumptions, because you know him, I don't.
Yeah. If I fell asleep at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, at the hotel, what was that, Monday night? Tuesday night?
One of them.
I'm just trying to think, like,
Okay, I'm going to do my little show and tell here with the handy dandy maps. Okay. Hickory Tree Road, the approximate location that Maddie was found at was this little nook, I guess, right here, approximately. I like how Nick's Edibles is something that is constantly showing up for me. the gaming shop that she kept mentioning is her reasoning for him being on that one road is somewhere in this area, I think. I'm not adding it to my search history, but I think it's no. There was a gaming place that she said that was her reasoning for him to be in this area. But I don't think it went that far over. It was more like this way. But she keeps saying, okay, maybe Maddie was in my trunk. And he said that's oddly specific. So here's Northport, where his parents live. Again, she's sending them in the opposite direction. She's not saying anything about over here. Every time they start to talk about over here, she dismisses that with only she knows people who live there. Only her friend lives there. Only her friend lives in St. Cloud. Stefan doesn't know anyone who lives in St. Cloud. Only me, because I worked with her. We worked at a pizza place together or whatever. So every time they come over here, she says, no, we didn't really do anything over there with Stefan. And she brings them back this way. It's always this way. And that's why I can't help but believe that she knew. She knew that he didn't have Maddie and he didn't take Maddie anywhere along here. But let's send people that way because I don't want them in the real direction where she is. She mentioned where'd it go? Harmony. This is one of the towns that she mentioned. She mentioned Lake Lizzie, but she said she never went those places with Stefan. It was only with her friend who lives over in this area of St. Cloud. Maddie was found here. She mentions Harmony and she mentions Lake Lizzie. But also remember, Stefan did not have his phone, so he didn't have a way to know exactly where he was going in a sense. So if she mentioned Lake Lizzie or anywhere over here, he probably forgot or whatever. But I think she knew I think Jen knew where Maddie was. And like Kevin had said, it's almost like you don't want us to find her because with a body, he can't be charged for murder. Which, I mean, he can. Just like Jarvis Butts is being charged with Neziah Harris's murder, even though they don't have a body, but the judge decided it's been more than a year and they're confident that they have enough information that she's no longer living to charge him with her murder. So they're proceeding with his trial without a body. But it's very difficult to get to the conjuncture to where you're going to charge somebody with murder without a body. And Jen could be thinking, and I can't say she is thinking for sure, but she absolutely could be thinking, well, if they don't have a body, then I guess they can't get him on anything.
Could he have had time to stop somewhere, wherever he stashed her, and then took her to Northport? I think he had time.
Has he cleaned your car since it came back from Northport? Has he brought it to a car wash? Has he detailed it, paid somebody to come out?
No.
Because you, through your, we call it a fiction novel, you pieced together what you think happened based on a suspicious activity, and you ended with, you think he put her in your trunk and brought her to Northport.
Yeah.
I know I asked you to make assumptions, but now I want to know why. Why is that how we finished this? What is in your mind leading you to believe that is the ending of the story?
Because 192 seems like a really busy strip, and I can't think of anywhere immediately, like, other than going deep into St. Cloud, like passing St. Cloud, like going into Holapa or Harmony, that I could see some stashing the body somewhere around there. But Northport has so many wooded areas, and I feel like I don't know, he would be familiar with both areas. I just don't know him to ever drive down 182 super far down, like into St. Cloud. But I've known him to drive around all around Northport. But see, I don't want to say anything and like lead you guys down to Northport to do a search and nothing's there. I'm just
We're gonna go everywhere.
We're searching woods right now where she's not.
Okay. I just want to be like, I know you guys are like looking at me for the details, but I'm like, I don't want to send you on a wild goose chase.
You know him better than us. You gotta really think. Emotional right now. I feel like you want to tell us.
No, if I knew what to tell you, I would tell you. If I had the truth, I would tell you. I don't know anything.
Jennifer, where do you think you took her?
If I were him and I had to stash a body, but I would never do this. My mind would say to go to Lake Toho. There's a lot of woods there, there's a lot of gators. I don't want to think about though.
I'm back over here. Lake Toho. Actually, there's two. There's east, and there's this one. Lots of trees, lots of gators. Again, not the direction she's in. She might think this lake because it is close to them. Lots of gators. She keeps going back to her being in a wooded area, which is also strange to me because you don't know if he put her in the woods just because she wrote that she wanted to live in the woods. And you could put a person anywhere. Woods, lake. I mean, there's all kinds of places in Florida. Buildings, abandoned buildings. But she keeps going back to in the woods. And the lots of gators kind of chuckled. Makes me chuckle because there are lots of gators everywhere in Florida. My father-in-law shared a video and he was golfing and he was just, close to the green, getting ready to walk up to his ball, and a giant gator is just walking across the green. He's like, well, guess I'll wait until this big guy passes by before I advance. But when people say there are alligators all over Florida, that's not an exaggeration. You will see, like, look at all these little ponds and stuff. Most of them have signs that they're not safe for swimming because there's gators everywhere. So, at the same time, while, you know, obviously there's wildlife and stuff, I don't think he would have wanted to throw her in the water with the gators because I think he loved her too much and he wanted her to be where he felt would be more peaceful. Trying, you know, to get into the mind of a psychopath, but that's what I think anyway. Oops. Let's see, go back. Transition. Hey, look, my OBS studios, in case you're wondering.
No, I know. I just don't want to think about her getting eaten by gators. I don't know where she makes friends.
Like I told you, there's going to come to a point where we will. Right? Volusia County Sheriff's Office just found somebody the other day that's been missing for a long time. People get found. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's not quick. I'm hoping this situation is today, tomorrow, Sunday, but we will find her. What you need to think about is when we find her, is there an opportunity or a chance that we are going to prove that you did not assist us to your full capability in this investigation? And if that is true, you need to think about the consequences of that. Consequences of hindering a murder investigation or a capital sexual battery investigation could be punishable up to probably the same charges, the same time in jail. I know you know that I don't believe what you're saying, and I know you know that I think you prioritize Stefan, but do you prioritize jail? You see what I'm saying? Like, if we come back and prove that you sat in this room and misled us,
No.
that you didn't lead us in the right direction, or that you assisted, or you acknowledged, or you knew, you're going to be warning from jail.
If I knew anything, I swear I would tell you. I know nothing. He hasn't mentioned. We haven't discussed this. I had no suspicion of anything. He did not tell me any more details of where he went that day other than those shops that I had mentioned. I'm giving you my truth.
On any of the days that he came home after these suspicious outings, 192 trips, Northport trips, and everything else, did he change clothes? Did he come home and appear disheveled, sweaty, dirty?
I don't believe he showered. He didn't bring that many changes of clothes with him, so I know he's repeated his outfit over and over. It's possible he could have come home all sweaty and disheveled after the supposed changing the tire thing, but I wasn't home to see that. But other than that, I didn't see him come home dirty or sweaty or anything like that.
Did he do anything he normally doesn't do within the house around you?
Sitting on the computer chair, chatting away with me, talking about updating his phone.
Freudian slip. Did she mean to say that?
Did he carry tools in his car to change a tire, typically?
I think he said there was a tire iron in the car and the jack.
Did he bring it inside? Did he leave it in the car? After?
I think he left everything was in the car.
Did you ever go look at his car? To verify that he changed his tire?
I don't think I did.
Never dawned on you to go double check. Except by the time he would have got back from the tire, you were gone, right?
Yeah.
What he told us?
Yeah.
And then she was reported missing
Yeah.
during that time.
Yeah.
And it never dawned on you to be like, damn, did he really change his tire? Let me double check.
No. We got home really late that evening and I didn't even think of doing that.
This is part of our problem. He did so many things and you never questioned it.
I didn't suspect him.
How can we believe some of the stuff that you're telling us, or believe that you don't know?
I don't know how to say. I mean, I guess I'm stupid and gullible and very trustworthy, but I didn't think he'd be the type to do anything like this. I didn't doubt.
But you knew he was vindictive. You described him as not trustworthy with his family. You described instances where you document where he was lying to his family, lying to you, lying to others.
Lying to his family, yes, but lying to me.
You discussed that he wasn't that good of a person. You had to it wasn't this family. You're not describing him in a positive light at all. So this trust, this caring, all this stuff makes no sense because you, regardless of the victimization, describe him as a good person. He's stealing from his parents, right?
But he never stole from me.
You guys have no money, but all he's doing is ordering things, right? He's buying himself things. He's not. You described him as a selfish thief. You even called it a robbery, that he robbed his parents. So you're trusting this dude who you're describing as untrustworthy.
And it's funny because she reminds me of a teenager telling their parents, "Oh, they're not like that. You don't know them like I do." Listen, probably the best advice I can ever give someone when it comes to a relationship with someone that everyone around you doesn't like. Chances are, if everyone around you doesn't like a person, there's a very, very valid reason. So if you have to say the words that people don't know this person like I do, there's a very strong possibility that you are ignoring some really important things that the people around you are not ignoring. So to say, I know this person like other people don't, I mean, to be fair, I know my husband in ways that other people really might not know him. But when you're using it as a way to defend someone who people are constantly bashing on, you need to take a step back and think, why is it that everybody I know does not like this person? Why is it everyone I know is telling me that this person is no good? Because chances are they're not any good, and they're doing to you what they're doing to everybody else. Just like if you score someone and you win a relationship with someone who was in a relationship when you met them, engaged in a relationship with you before that relationship was over, you don't get to be all surprised if they cheat on you. Because they were with someone when you met them. And usually if someone is willing to cheat on the person they're with the next person, then the odds are pretty high that they're going to cheat again on the next person they engage in a relationship with. And the same can be said if somebody lies to everyone, they're not just lying to everyone, they're also probably lying to you too. They're not going to just reserve all of their lies for everyone else and not lie to the person that's closest to them. If they're going to steal from everybody else, they're probably going to steal from you too. If you have something worth stealing anyway. And in this case, Jen might not have had anything monetary to offer Stefan necessarily. She did have a daughter. So if you want to think of it in that gross way, he did steal from Jen. Only he didn't steal from Jen what she expected.
But I thought he was...
What happened to her? Where did you... What's that? I can't fathom that. I can't wrap my head around that.
I think I only asked him if he took her to school. When I called him and told him to come to the office, I asked him, like, you dropped her off at school, right? Because she never made it. And he said, yeah. And I was like, she never made it. Where did you drop her off?
You guys sat in your car Tuesday night when I was out there. I was out there at least 4 hours. Just you two in that car.
Yeah.
You can't tell me you guys did not have any conversations about this. There's no way. A reasonable person would have been questioning him. You were the last person with her. What the hell happened this morning? You never did that in that car.
No, I didn't. I remember being on my phone. He was on my phone for a little bit. I know I was medicated. And I was just zoning out. I wasn't thinking anything of anything. I never asked him. Just asking him that one time to me was, if he took her to school, that was enough answer for me. I don't know, I just wanted to think. Not think the worst, I guess? I don't know. But I didn't think he did anything. Now I know. But then I didn't. I was still believing everything he was telling me.
Juvenile robbery suspects utilize the excuse of, I was high on bars, I took Xanax, I was blacked out. Right? Every juvenile robbery suspect you interview, I was, in your words, medicated, in their words, high, incapacitated, drunk. It's an excuse to avoid admitting what happened. When you say you're medicated, I can't think of an amount of medication that will numb you so bad to numb the fact that the investigation is occurring right in front of your face, but you're missing. So being medicated is just an excuse to avoid answering why you didn't discuss with him what happened. It minimizes your guys' interaction by saying you were not fully coherent. But there's a person I know who can sit in a car and watch a bunch of detectives and crime scene investigators and everybody else search her house, seize her house, and be so numb that somehow is not ringing bells, is not overcoming the power of this little medication. There's no way. The human body will overcome that in a big situation. You didn't take enough medication to numb you of the reality of what was occurring.
I mean...
There's no way. Unless you were fully incapacitated, there's no way you were so numb that everything he described to you, everything I described to you was not in the forefront of your mind. You weren't numb. Just like these robbery kids weren't blacked out. They weren't high enough to not remember the robbery. They just don't want to talk about it.
No, it wasn't clicking. It didn't click to me. Like you guys telling me like it wasn't as obvious, like this and that. I still believed the story he had told me, that while we were sitting in the car. I still fully believed everything he had told me. I didn't doubt him. I really thought you guys were going after the wrong guy. I'm like, they're wasting time. The real suspect is out there. She's being sex trafficked. That was my biggest fear, is that she was being sex trafficked. I didn't think that she would actually be dead.
But she thought enough to get him a lawyer.
Detective Smallwood. That's his name. I've been sitting here trying to think of, I know he was introduced in the beginning and my brain wasn't remembering. And of course, you know, I thought about it later when it's a lot less relevant. What he said is correct, but you thought to get him a lawyer. Here's me. I know I'm not Jen. I know that I cannot speak for everyone, but I wonder if people ever watch this, if they can tell me in the comments they've made it this far into my video. If you were sitting in a vehicle with the last person to see your child, and you're watching as law enforcement by the dozen is going into your place of residence, your home, apartment, trailer, yacht, whatever, searching for signs that something might have happened to your child, and you're sitting there with this person who saw your child last, I don't care how much you love them, I would be like, what did you do? You had one job. You said you were going to take her to school for me. I counted on you to do that. She didn't make it to school. What the hell happened? Is that just me? Am I the only person who would be like, I want to know what happened. What happened to my daughter? Why didn't she make it into school? All you had to do this morning was drop her off. I would be like angry. You can be sad and still be angry. You can be upset and still be pissed off. And I don't understand how he could be the last person that saw Maddie. He was the last person to see her before she didn't even make it to school. It's not like he took her to school and she was in school all day and then she disappeared. She didn't make it to school. The last person to see her was Stefan. This was obviously before she saw the photos of Maddie in the car. So she wouldn't have that information yet. But it doesn't dawn on her that the last person to see Maddie is the guy sitting next to her and she says nothing to him. But I think they have the wrong guy. Why did she assume that because they're looking inside, they're looking at him? Maybe they're looking for clues to see if Maddie tried talking to anybody, if she made any plans that she wrote down somewhere that she nor anyone found inside. There could be 1,000 things that they could be looking for. Doesn't necessarily mean they're looking at Stefan. This was before they towed his car, because the detective from Sex Crimes told her that they were going to tow his car. So his car was still there when they were sitting in her car. So why would she say, I think they're looking at you? I think they have the wrong person. That doesn't make any sense unless she knows. And she's again telling them what she thinks they want to hear. But obviously this isn't what they want to hear, because all it's doing is making them more mad. Like, get it together, Jen. Tell us the truth. Stop feeding us whatever you think you want us to know. And if you know nothing, you can't know nothing. You can't not have just sat next to this person for that many hours and said nothing. And I love that Detective Kevin called her out on her medication, because they always say that. I mean, he says it in his interview. And like, it's what a lot of people say when they don't want to answer a question. But I can't imagine her sitting in the car with him and not being like, what happened? What happened this morning? You tell me. Well, it would be yesterday morning. What happened? You told me that you took her to school. I mean, why didn't she say this to him at any point? even before they started looking in the apartment for signs and for clues. They were there all night Monday. They were there all day Tuesday until they were asked to step out of the place. So at what point did she ever say, Stefan, what happened? Did she? Or did she already know?
I really thought you guys were going after the wrong guy.
At that point, from the jump, we've been trying to find her. That has been and will be our biggest priority.
Him getting arrested for victimizing her was an accident. We only discovered that she was a victim because we took his phone.
And I'm like so happy that happened, because if not, this would have continued to keep happening.
Well, it wouldn't have, because he killed her on Monday.
I know. Talking about if she had been found. I don't know why.
I'm happy you found them. You're happy. That's not exactly the word that I would use. It's good that you found them because it was accidental. The officer that he handed his phone to that wanted to check a setting clearly saw something that she didn't expect to see. And that's when she asked to keep his phone. And the only thing that he was not happy about was outwardly, how is my dad going to contact me then? Because he thought he successfully wiped his phone when he reset it. But when it went back into his Google, she clearly saw something that she should not have seen when she went to go to settings. And pocketed it because, oh, well, look at this, I'll give it back to you later. And people are questioning the consent that followed there because she only asked to look at the settings. But I don't think she intentionally saw something she wasn't supposed to see. That was completely accidental. But to say, I'm happy you found it, it's not exactly the word that, you know, I would think that someone in complete surprise, not knowing this was going on, would have said. I guess it's a good thing you found that, in the sense that if you didn't, he couldn't hurt anyone else. Or he couldn't, I mean, because obviously he couldn't keep hurting Maddie. She was gone. But at that point, they didn't really have anything on Stefan that he could be immediately arrested for. Because, okay, well, she looked like she was not alive in that car, but they didn't have any real verified proof that she wasn't alive in that car. It was their suspicion. But once they had the CSAM, they could automatically arrest him and he would be in custody instead of loose driving wherever, potentially, you know, causing more issues.
There's no, I've asked this before, but there's no like map you guys can show me of like with a highlighted route of where he could have taken to see if I could recognize anything or suspect anything.
I can pull up a map on my phone of the areas you described and we can go through it.
Sure.
You said House of Cards?
No. House game rules.
House of Cards. On Vine Street in Kissimmee.
Yeah, Oak Street.
That is House Game Rules. Feel free to drag the map around as you please.
That's all of it. Oh my god.
And realistically, Florida has a lot of wetlands, so anything you see that's green may not necessarily be wooded. This may be rural, but we're looking more for where you think based off of his route, not necessarily just like the green parts of the map.
Yeah. That is the one shop I can remember him specifically naming that he was going to that Monday. He said house game rules. Did he make it there? I don't know. See, if we ever went down 192 together, it would typically be in this direction towards 535, towards Disney. That's why I find it really strange that you guys say St. Cloud, because I've never gone into St. Cloud with him before.
So you told me you have a friend in St. Cloud.
I do.
I don't know if he knows, but explain to him where she lives, who she is. Explain that relationship to him, because I don't think he's aware of it.
No.
Oh, okay. So one of my really good friends lives off of Old Canoe Creek Road, off Nolte.
Okay.
I don't know what neighborhood though. She's one of my really good friends. She's somebody I know that lives in St. Cloud. She's one of like 2 people I know that live in St. Cloud. She's hung out with us, as in me and Stefan before. She's come over to hang out with me, and Stefan would be hanging out there too, so we would all kind of hang out together. But yeah, she's just a friend.
And you're 100% sure he's never been to her house?
Yes.
Do they have their own friendship? Or is it just, that's your friend and the only time he ever talks to her or hangs out with her is with you?
Exactly. Just my friend, and he would talk when she was around.
And you just told me about the second person in St. Cloud. Who is that?
Somebody I haven't seen in a long time. Her name is Courtney Brackman. She lives, can you pull up the map?
Mm-hmm.
But he's never been over to her house either.
Search.
She lives somewhere in this area over here. Around here. Lake Lizzie to me is familiar. I would go hiking there often. Well,
There's a preserve there.
yeah, a few years ago, we would go hiking all the time with my friend Courtney, the one who lives right by there.
With Stefan?
No, Stefan would never come.
Now, would you tell him you're going to Lake Lizzie Preserve?
I've mentioned it before, yeah, when we've gone.
Okay. When we talked about St. Cloud and, you know, he had asked for your top 5 places, why did this ever cross your mind?
Lake Lizzie?
Any of these places in St. Cloud that you're familiar with?
I mentioned them the first time St. Cloud was brought up. I mentioned my 2 friends that live there. And then, I don't know if I ever mentioned Lake Lizzie. Not sure.
Do you know if Lake Lizzie was special?
She did enjoy going out there.
Was she verbal about that? Like, did she make that known to you guys?
She always told me that if we were to go hiking out there, to let her know, because I've gone hiking without her. I want to go. But it's been a really long time since I've done a hike down Lake Lizzie with her.
Okay.
It's been at least 2
So that doesn't feel very genuine to me. Oh yeah, she did, she did mention it. Sure. If you ever go hiking, Mom, make sure to take me to Lake Lizzie with you. I mean, maybe. My girls like doing different stuff. But just, this feels like an on-the-fly kind of story. Just again, give them some insight to tell them what she thinks they might want to hear.
In St. Cloud that I would know, that I could think of, that he might be aware of, but
Just make sure your gut tells us no.
Lake Lizzie, probably not. Like, does he even remember what the name of Lake Lizzie is? Probably not. Is it okay if I look up password rules again?
Yes.
Was he in the video games?
Yeah.
Yeah.
World of Warcraft, into tabletop games like Dungeons and Dragons and Warhammer 40K, card games like Lorcana, which is a Disney card game. That's what he told me he was going to go do Monday. He was going to go look for Lorcana cards, and that's why he was going to go to House Rules Gaming. He was just going to make a few stops, and I said, why are you doing that? Why are you wasting time when we don't have money? Like, you don't have money to spend. He's like, oh, I'm just browsing. I just want to look. I want to see what they have available. That's all he said. Every time I did question him, he always had an answer.
Oh, you mean kind of like you? Every time they have a question, you have an answer, Jen. It's never just, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's always, oh, I have an answer for this. I have an answer for this. I have a reasoning for that. I have a justification for this. I don't know a single time where she's like, I don't know. I don't have an answer. I thought I knew him better than I did. I guess not. But no, she has an answer for literally everything.
Do you guys know, like, up until when on 182 you guys found him, see him? Like, how far down?
We just know it's St. Cloud.
So I keep thinking, like, house game rules on 182. Okay, it's got some secluded stuff in the background, or in the back of it, but it's still 182. It's still really busy. Busy till you pass St. Cloud.
So right now, I'm pretty sure they're still doing your phone. I think. How'd you get here? You're driven here?
I was driven here, but my dad followed behind. I think you guys said my car might be ready.
We'll verify that in a minute. The investigation is still going.
Yeah.
Right, Stefan also is not been charged with murder. Right, just a sexual.
He's not, or he is?
He has not been.
Oh, okay.
He's just been charged with sexual battery. I have a couple questions for you that are going to be on record, that are going to be official, that I need you to answer truthfully. Because if they determine that you did answer not truthfully, you can be held accountable for it. Make sense?
Yeah.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear that everything we talked about today in this interview is true and correct?
Yes.
Did you lie to me or the detective at any time?
No.
Okay. Do you currently know, or have you ever been aware of where his body has been since Monday?
No.
Did you have any?
No.
Were you aware at any time, whether it be the most recent instance or the first instance, victimization sexually by Stefan? Okay. At this time, you do not know where Stefan went on 192?
I don't.
You do not know where he went in Northport?
I do not.
And you have at no time this week in any conversations with Stefan where he disclosed what he did?
No.
Okay. The story that we talked about of what at one point we discussed that she could potentially have been in a trunk on the way to Northport.
Yeah.
Is that information you know to be true or an assumption?
An assumption.
Okay. Do you have any questions for us before we go check on the phone in the car? We may not be able to answer everything, but if you have questions, we can see if we can answer those questions. It's not your only opportunity. Your only opportunity phase was you saying you swear.
Yeah.
Okay. And lastly, the only opportunity, you obviously have numerous detectives' phone numbers, you have numerous agencies' phone numbers, things like that, so realistically, there will be other options for you to ask questions.
I don't think I have questions right now.
Okay. I don't want you to think I was purposely an asshole to you.
No, I know. You're
Alright.
doing your job.
Like I told you, like the sheriffs have probably reached out, you've been in communication with numerous people here. Those are my opinions and my opinions only. They don't reflect Sheriff Mina, the chief of PD, Kyle, any other detectives who talked to you. Alright? I personally don't know. Alright? We will be here all weekend. We will be here all night. My only hope is that you truthfully did not lie to us. You truthfully don't know where she was. And that you truthfully did not know what was happening to her.
I believe that she lied. She might not have lied about everything, but she definitely lied about some things. But I don't know. They granted her immunity at some point, I guess. So I guess we'll see. We'll see what comes with Jen. But I think she knows way more than she's letting on. I do. I would like to see more interviews with Detective Kevin, with literally anyone, and maybe even Detective Kyle. But I'd like to see more of him, you know, or ask questions, because he did not hold back, but he did so still respectfully, I feel like.
right now. Your car is obviously able to be released to you, the Nissan. It requires us to do some paperwork because we did log it into our system. So now that it's in our system, we got to release it properly to you, which is no big deal. It'll take a couple minutes. Because of the high profile. All right, I know you said we can download your phone, and I do appreciate your cooperation with that, but because the same way we did with Stefan and every other phone and digital device we've seized, they're making us write a search warrant on it, which really doesn't affect you too much. The search warrant is a legal thing. It's not a you thing. It's not a trust thing. But with that, it takes a little bit longer.
Yeah.
All right, so I can release your car to you right now. We can go facilitate that downstairs. I cannot make you a promise that that phone will be downloaded by the time your car's ready. What I can promise you is that the moment it is downloaded, if you have left from here, I will bring it to you. You're staying with your sister still? Does anybody have your sister's phone number that we can make sure we can communicate with you on?
Yeah. My dad is downstairs, I think, waiting for me, so I can give you my dad's number since he'll be
Whatever
with me.
phone numbers we can have, just to make sure that if we are unable to give you the phone back today, we'll throw my shit out there. That way, if we are unable to give you the phone back, we at least are able to contact you, and we want to make sure you have a phone to contact us if something arises. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, for sure.
What's Dad's number? What's his name?
My dad's name is and if you can't get a hold of him, you can take my sister's number. She's
Are you gonna be going back to your condo? Or are you gonna go to?
I don't think I'm returning to my townhouse ever again. I want to. I want to be staying with my sister.
So what we'll do is we will walk you out this back parking lot. If the car is in the back corner, so I'll walk with you. We'll go through the back so we don't go through the front lobby. There was a press conference today. Obviously, none of us got to see what was said. I assume it's just an update on. But we will go through the back to go get the car, and that way we are not walking through the front lobby making you wait out there. I don't know if there's still media present. I assume you're not in the state or mood to go walk past 32 news cameras. So we will go out the back and get the car, and I'll show you how you can leave here, and we can call your dad from the back so he can know where to go or where to meet you.
Yeah.
We can just tell him, hey, she's gonna be in the back parking lot. You can drive around. You guys can follow each other out, or whatever you choose to do that way. All right.
Good morning.
Okay, so whatever there is about an hour, a little over an hour left. About an hour and 10. So I think now that we've been through hours and hours and hours of listening to Jen's interviews, I do want to make it clear, in case I really haven't, that I do not believe that Jen killed Maddie. I know there's speculation that she did. The defensive wounds, what they tested on Maddie's person, matches what would have been wounds on Stefan from a struggle. So that is a pretty strong indicator that she fought him, not Jen. So I just want to make it clear that I personally, at this point, do not believe that Jen is responsible for Maddie's death. I do think that she was responsible for not protecting her daughter the best that she could. I do think that if she's guilty of anything, it's that. But unless she's tried or charged or whatever, that's between her and whatever she believes in, whether she's religious or not. That's her cross to bear, so to speak. So I just want to make it clear that I am not accusing her whatsoever for murdering Maddie, but I do think that she knows more than she's telling. So So here's this audio. I don't think I've heard this audio before, but here we go.
We are at the State Attorney's Office in Kissimmee. It's 8:57 a.m. It is April 18th, 2024. I am William J. I am the Division Chief for the Homicide Unit. With me is Danielle Pinnell, also from the Homicide Unit in Kissimmee. Can the detectives identify themselves?
Detective Mark Morris.
Detective Kyle Smallwood.
And with us is
Jennifer Soto.
with your attorney.
Matthew Bark.
All right. We went over some things before we went on the record and told you the opportunity to ask any questions that you needed to ask. If you need a break to consult with your attorney, that is absolutely fine. We'll all step out of the room, turn off our recorders, and let you exercise your constitutional right to have counsel. There's no problem with that. There's water fountains here, there's restrooms. I don't know if you're a smoker or not, but if you get desperate, we can make an outside break time, but we are kind of under time constraints. With that all said, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, this is an investigative subpoena, so you've been compelled to be here. And in our country, under the 5th Amendment and the 14th Amendment, as applied to you under the Florida Constitution as well, you cannot be forced to incriminate yourself. So anything you say today can't and won't be used against you unless you just don't tell us the truth. And I've already explained to your attorney, Mr. Bark, whether or not you've made any inconsistent statements in the past, that is dirt under the bridge, and either a misdemeanor was committed or it wasn't. But
Okay, so there is some confusion there. Now I know what they're doing. Obviously, this is well after Maddie has been found. It's been 2 weeks. They probably even had a funeral for her by this point, I would imagine. People think that the claim here is that everything is water under the bridge if she had any part in Maddie's murder. That is not what he's saying. My interpretation of what he just said is that we will not hold it against you if for whatever reason you were not honest before. That we will, that is water, dirt under the bridge, we will pretend that those conversations didn't happen as long as you're honest now. They're not telling her that if she helped commit a murder, then she's free to go and never have to worry about that. She can't be held accountable. That's not what he's saying. He's saying in all of the interviews that we just listened to, if she lied and knowingly and intentionally lied to protect Stefan or whatever, they are not going to charge her for that crime of lying under oath. That is what he made that statement for. Now is your time to be honest. If any time was important for you to be honest, right now is the time that you need to be honest, and we can forgive you for the things that you said when Maddie was just missing and not found. Does that make sense?
we're not going to be using that as a basis of some sort of perjury by false statements, because those other charges wouldn't be perjury anyways. So the most important thing today is to tell the truth. I also explained derivative use immunity, which means if you said that there was a gun, and obviously there's no gun in this case, buried in your attorney's yard, we couldn't go dig up that gun if you told us that, oh yeah, there's the gun that was used is right there. We wouldn't be able to do that. We would have to show that we learned all those things independently from this interview. Okay? Do you have any questions? All right, so let's get started.
Before you start, let me just make sure we're clear on the record. Off the record, we had discussed our position on the concerns we have. Ms. Soto was interrogated by law enforcement previously. She was under a tremendous amount of duress and stress, being that her child was missing and then she was found deceased. There's been media hysteria about this. There's been people asking for her to be prosecuted, tarred, feathered, executed. And so with that said, we have the concern that you brought up about if there's something said inconsistent today, not being used against her for filing a false police report.
Right.
Okay, so I know that that's his job as her attorney, but it's not wrong for the public to want some accountability from Jen here. I'm not agreeing with tar and feathering a person. You know, this is supposed to be a civilized, you know, we're supposed to be civilized here. And for people to expect extreme measures because of the actions of another person, I'm not in agreement with that. But I don't think it's wrong for the public to want some accountability out of Jen here, because she is directly responsible for failing to protect her daughter, knowing that the likelihood of her being abused was a problem. And at the very least, knowingly sending her minor child to sleep with a grown man at 37 years old, even under the suspicion that something could possibly be happening, along with her really important rule that they could have no sleepovers, which is really weird terminology that people would use for a slumber party with two friends that don't live under the same roof, to call it a sleepover or a slumber party. And her Woody Allen comments that she made on multiple accounts. To say she was asked for hours under duress because her child was missing, she wasn't exhibiting any signs that they were being unfair to her by continuing to question her. She wasn't spazzing out. She wasn't freaking out. When she started to cry, for the most part, they let her have a moment to collect herself. And then once she had collected herself, she was able to continue. It's not like they're badgering her when she's like, stop, I need a lawyer, stop, I can't do this. There was no time that she was doing that. She seemed relatively okay. Of course, there's going to be some shock associated with not having her child there. Of course, and they're missing. Of course, it's going to be a difficult time. But also, the more information that they could get out of her, the better it was, because they were trying to find Maddie. Yeah, her mental health is important, but be honest, because the best way for them to do their jobs and to find your missing daughter, they weren't treating her like a criminal. She was either in a car, which she wasn't uncomfortable. They made sure that it was warm enough for her. And they had her in a really nice room compared to Stefan. She was in a comfortable room that they would take a victim to ask them about their experience. When I go through Stefan's video, his is a really uncomfortable chair that he complained about numerous times because it's Stefan. And it was cold. He was not comfortable. You know, she had what she needed. They provided her with a roll of paper towels, you know, to mop her face if she needed it. I don't feel as if they treated her like she was being interrogated, in the sense that they just wanted answers to help find her daughter. So I know it's his job to protect. Oh, she was under great amounts of stress and duress, people threatening her. Well, she had already said that she wasn't paying attention to social media. So when they were questioning her, she was not impacted by what social media was saying, because she was purposefully staying away from it, which is really smart. You know, it's very, very smart to stay away from social media, especially when you have a child that's missing and it's just taken off and become, like, I don't want to say globally known, but it became pretty high profile pretty quickly. So I can understand if she was, you know, distraught because of social media, but she said that she was explicitly not looking at it on purpose. So it wasn't as if when she was answering those questions, she was worried about people wanting her tar and feathered. Like, that's ridiculous. And now, thinking back to the phone conversation I listened to between Stefan and his parents, his mother, which I will get to her at another point, made a comment about Jen being in a mental health facility and whether or not she was there because she wanted to be there or because her lawyer made her go. It could be a combination of a lot of things. She did struggle with her mental health long before Maddie went missing and died. So, I mean, that's not a stretch. She had said that she had been in a facility before. So it could have been a requirement because it made her, quote, look better. But I really do think that her mental health is a mess. Jen probably does suffer from severe clinical depression. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a professional who's licensed to make that determination. But just based on what we have for previous history, the kind of medications and stuff that she was on, the lack, she doesn't have a lot of, she's not a energetic and happy person, which maybe she was when she wasn't medicated. I don't know. But she did have a history. So we can assume that she was put there because, it made her look better than not being in a mental health facility. But she may have just genuinely needed to be there. I don't know. But I already find her lawyer kind of irritating.
So, for example, if she said something that was false then, and we have no idea that was false now before this interview, but she comes in and admits that it was false today, we can't use these statements or that admission that it was false against her, just like we couldn't use anything else against her from this interview. Okay? All right. My understanding is that on February 25th of this year, you were working at the hotel on Disney property out at Coronado Springs.
Yes.
You
have to answer
out loud and loud enough to get caught on the recorder. I know you're upset. I know.
Yes.
All right. And did you get off at 10 p.m.?
Yes.
All right. Did you go directly home?
Yes.
About how long does it take you to get home?
About 25 to 30 minutes.
And when you get home, who is downstairs, if anybody? You have a two-story, is it a townhome? Is that the best word for it?
Yes, it's at home.
If anybody is downstairs, who is downstairs?
I saw my daughter Madeline and Stefan.
Do you recall what Madeline was wearing?
No.
And do you recall what Stefan was wearing?
I can't tell you, no.
Okay. When you get home from work, do you need to kind of eat a late dinner before you get settled in for bed?
Yes.
And do you eat there at your home?
Yes.
What do you eat?
I think I had a pub sub waiting for me in the house, a sandwich.
Okay. Did anybody join you in sitting down and eating?
No, I ate in my bedroom.
Okay. Did it look like anybody else had recently cooked food or eaten any food there that night?
From what I saw, no. I didn't see anyone cooking, or it didn't look like anyone had been cooking.
Okay. I believe in one of your former interviews you mentioned that Madeline might have gone over with you kind of what she got at the birthday party since you didn't have the chance to go because you were at work. Mm-hmm. When and where does that occur?
That occurs like right after I get home. It occurs in my bedroom. Everyone's in my room.
And so by everyone, let's just be clear since I understand you have some roommates. So what do you mean by everyone?
Okay. Madeline, Stefan, and myself were in my bedroom.
Okay. At this point in time, do you recall what Madeline was wearing?
I don't know.
Let me ask it a different way. Can you tell me whether or not she was wearing a long-sleeved green sweatshirt and jeans?
Oh, no.
Okay. Would she have kind of been in her bed gear, or do you think she could have still been in the dress that she wore to her birthday celebration?
She would have been in pajamas. I can't recall the exact pajamas, but she would have been in pajamas. She had already, by this point in the evening, she had already showered and changed out of that birthday dress.
And was it your understanding from your sister that she had gotten dropped off about 8:30, she being Madeline?
8:30, 8:45, something around that time, yeah.
And what's your understanding as to when Stefan had gotten there? If you know. If you don't guess, it's fine.
Actually, while he's saying that, this is important. So there's things that you might think should be a certain way because that's just the way things go. But don't just guess based on past history that it's the same as what happened on that particular day. If you don't know, you don't know.
Then yeah, I'm not sure exactly what time he got there.
Okay. You were at work, so I just didn't know if, like, sometimes families check in, hey, I made it, by text or by phone call or anything like that. Do you not remember any of that?
I don't remember. her.
Okay. How long were the three of you in your bedroom?
I'm gonna say for about 30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did Madeline tell you about the party?
She
Did-
was really happy.
Did she tell you what food they had there at the party? Or
Yeah, they had her favorites.
what are her favorites?
Puerto Rican food. So arroz con gandules.
All right, so you're gonna have to translate to English. I know frijoles and arroz and a couple other things, but help me out.
If I recall correctly, she had requested rice. It's a type of rice and beans.
Mm-hmm.
It's rice with pigeon peas.
Okay.
And pernil, which is, I'm not sure how to. It's a pork, but I'm not sure how they cook it.
Okay.
So it's cooked pork. That's typically what she requests for her parties. That's like her favorite meal.
Okay. And what kind of gifts did she get?
She got a lot of money.
Okay.
That's what she ended up showing me. I think she had a few trinkets, but like most of it was just a big wad of money that she was so excited for.
All right. Is there any particular reason Stefan couldn't make it up to the party? Because it's my understanding he didn't exactly work or anything.
He wouldn't have been invited. The party was held at my mom's house, and my mom and him have never had a great relationship. She's never liked him. So he wouldn't have been invited to the party at all. It just would have been my whole family, and then me. If I hadn't worked, I would have been there.
Okay. Now, during this 30 minutes that the three of you are in your bedroom, is Madeline engaging in any of her kind of nighttime routine or, getting ready for bed? What else is going on, if anything?
We spent a long time talking about gifts and having her show me, and then we counted out her money. I can't remember if she had finished with all of her bedtime routine.
Okay. Does she brush her teeth at night?
In the shower.
In the shower? Okay.
Uh-huh.
And that occurred before you got home?
Yeah.
And my understanding with her nighttime medication is that's something that you would like to make sure she had bedtime or so?
Something like that, yeah.
So were you present for that occurring, or did that occur after you got home?
That did not occur on my call. I believe I had instructed Maddie when she got home to go ahead and take them herself.
Okay. And is that something that she's allowed to do?
From time to time, yeah.
When you say they, is there what my understanding was there was some hydroxyzine? Is there anything else she takes at night?
Just hydroxyzine.
All right. And the Miralax is when?
Miralax is.
So that would have been earlier while you were at work too if she took it?
Yeah.
May not have because she was at the party?
Yeah, because I had been training at work that week and we had been going back and forth with my mom's a lot. The Miralax.
I'm surprised she's on Miralax consistently because that's really supposed to be. I was talking to a friend about this, and it's supposed to be really hard on the digestive system, and it's not really something that should be taken super frequently. So I'm surprised that was a consistent thing that she was getting on top of everything else.
Miralax wasn't consistent.
Okay. All right. Now, Madeline, does she lay out her clothes for school the next day, or is that something she gets in the morning, makes a game time decision like my kid?
Typically, it is a game time decision morning of.
Okay. What about this specific evening? Do you remember anything about it?
Yes. This evening, we had, I had already discussed prior to Stefan coming to visit that he was going to help me take Maddie to school that day. So because I knew that was what was going to happen that night, I had asked Maddie, pick out your clothes, have everything ready, have your backpack ready, your water bottle, everything you need ready so that way you could just grab your stuff and head out. It won't be too much of a hassle in the morning. And so she did. She picked out her clothing. I asked her what she was wearing, and she told me what she had picked out. I said, okay, fine.
All right, so she picks it out, but does she physically take it out of somewhere, wherever she stores her clothes, and put it somewhere?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm
So-
not sure if she took that clothes upstairs with her or anything like that.
All right. So as far you didn't see them in your room, and did you have the opportunity to kind of see her cubby part of the living room to see if she had put them on her bed or anything like that?
I hadn't seen them.
Does Madeline have like a water bottle or a hydro flask or whatever the kids call it that she likes to sleep with and bring up or bring wherever she's sleeping?
Typically not. That stays downstairs in her backpack, and then she'll clean it in the morning and then fill it back up and just leave it in her backpack. That typically stays in the backpack.
Okay. Favorite stuffed animal or stuffed animals? Anything that always goes with her wherever she's sleeping?
She does have a few stuffies and blankies. Did I see any that day?
Yeah, specifically, did you see if she brought any of that stuff upstairs with her?
No, I didn't see any of that stuff upstairs.
Now, separate question. Generally, habitually, like your attorney was saying, there's a difference between specific memory, but generally, would she do that? Not saying that you saw it that night.
Generally, would she do what?
Have stuffies and blankets and her favorite stuff.
Yes. She typically would.
So if Stefan says something like Maddie's building her nest and getting settled in, would that to you mean like her stuff is part of this nest, or what do you think that would mean, if you know?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Do you recall getting that text from Stefan that night that Maddie had settled into her nest for the night?
I don't remember that text now.
Okay. My understanding was that at some point you told them it was time to go to bed.
Yeah.
Do you recall about what time that was?
Around 11 o'clock.
So that's consistent with getting home at 10:30, having this half-hour discussion, and eating your pub sub? Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. Do they comply with your wishes to go upstairs when you say that at about 11 o'clock?
Yes, they do.
Okay. Is there any further communication between either you and Madeline or you and Stefan about, all right, kids, it's time to go to bed, anything like that? Or was that the last you had heard from either one of them that night?
I think at some point Stefan comes downstairs to use the restroom and then goes back upstairs, but after that I don't recall interacting or saying anything, so.
Okay. And my understanding is that you had some sort of parental controls over Maddie's phone. Is that accurate?
I'm not sure by parental controls exactly. I didn't have any limits or anything on the phone set up.
Well, like, for instance, if she wanted to install Game Pigeon, does that have to go through you?
Yeah. So any permissions for any apps she would have to ask me for.
All right, and does that ring a bell as to occurring that Sunday? Game Pigeon?
I don't remember.
Okay. All right. So that's the last time you hear from either one of them until the morning. My understanding is that Stefan comes down and is dealing with your dog. Is there any communication other than perhaps Stefan coming down to use the restroom? Is there any other communication that you have between Stefan and Maddie? Do you see them? Now, I've said communicate. Do you see them? Do you go up and check on them? Do you see Madeline or Stefan from the point you kick them out at 11 p.m. until you see Stefan at 8 in the morning-ish is what you guess for the dog?
Yeah. No, I didn't see them.
Okay. Now, when you go to sleep, do you sleep through the night, or do you wake up and not have consistent good sleep?
I sleep through the night.
Okay. So there wouldn't be any points in time where you get up and you're taking steps or just checking on your phone because you can't go back to sleep? As far as you remember, when you go to sleep, you're out until the dog thing in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you hear or see anything during those hours involving Stefan or Madeline?
I didn't hear or see anything that night.
All right. What's the first thing you remember when you wake up after having gone to sleep?
I wake up to Stefan
trying to put the leash on the dog.
Okay. Now, is this the first time that you've ever woken up to Stefan trying to put a leash on your dog, or is that something that has occurred before in the past?
I'm gonna say this is the first time. It's not normal for any of us to put the leash on the dog on the bed, because if he's on top of any, like, bed, couch, anything, he'll pee. He gets really nervous. You have to do it on the floor. So I found it really weird that he did that, but.
All right, so let me ask it a little more broadly. Is this the first time Stefan's ever come into your room while you're sleeping to take the dog out for you in the morning?
I can't recall if he said it before.
Okay. Did you find it unusual then, or what did you think when this is occurring?
When it happened, I think I was more. I found it off, but I was more worried over the dog. I was like, please don't pee on the bed. I don't want to do laundry.
Okay.
So I was more anxious over that. He put the dog on the leash and told me to lay down and go back to sleep. And I said, okay.
So were you not laying down when he tells you to go back and lay down?
No, when he put the leash on the dog, I shot off the bed because I was going to help him. I was like, no, let me do it. And he's like, no, go back to sleep. I'm fine. I got this.
Okay.
I said, okay.
Now, do you go back to sleep, or do you check your phone, or do anything?
I think I go back to sleep. I can look at anything.
In this period of time that you have been awoken by Stefan, do you hear or see anybody else in your household?
I hear somebody in the kitchen. I'm not sure who it was.
Okay. Could you identify it by size, like their steps? Could you identify gender by their voice? Anything like that?
All I heard was sounds of, like, cabinets shutting, like somebody in there shutting, like looking for something and shutting.
Okay. Now, if your daughter had been awake, would she come in and say goodbye to you before school, or not? Just let you sleep?
I would have hoped she would have come by and say goodbye to me. I can't remember if this is one of the first times that Stefan actually took her to school, so I would have hoped she would have said good night.
So when the initial interviews came in, the police came into the office building that her mother works at. Stefan said that typically, blah, 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 blah. But he was lying his butt off because there was no typically in the morning for school, because he never participated in taking Maddie to school. If it wasn't Jen, it was her mom. This was really like she just said, this was really the only time it ever happened. He didn't take her to school. I did, or her mother did. But I think her mother really took Maddie to school more when Stefan wasn't there, because Jen had just started a new job. Otherwise, Jen was pretty much home all the time. And she had said that she would also substitute teach here and there and kind of fill in. But she did that at Maddie's school, so she would have been there anyway. So that's pretty accurate when she said, well, it's not really happened before because Stefan never took Maddie to school. So for him to say, oh, well, like normally I dropped her off and she walked. Well, there wasn't any normally because that never happened before.
I'm not sure.
All right. So do you fall back asleep?
I do.
And when do you wake up, and how do you wake up?
I wake up at like 9 o'clock in the morning to my alarm. I wake up at 9 o'clock in the morning to my alarm. I get ready. I think at around 9:30, 9:45, I leave for my doctor's appointment.
Okay. So in this period of time from when you're waking up and getting ready, do you see anybody else in your home?
At this point, I'm not too sure. I know throughout the day I've seen my roommate in the kitchen cooking and doing her thing, but I don't recall if it was at this time.
Did you see your daughter this morning on the 26th?
No.
Did you have any texts or phone calls or any other type of communication through any possible app on your phone? Like, hey mom, love you at school, whatever. Any communications from Madeline?
Anything from her? Nothing.
All right. How about from Stefan by the time that you wake up at 9? Any texts or communication from him? Maddie's dropped, I'm off to the game store, or whatever he's doing?
No. I didn't hear back from Stefan until 10:20ish, and he had told me he left his phone at home that whole morning by accident. And I had asked him how the morning went, how was Maddie, and he let me know that this morning went great. We made great time. She got busy super quick. He was going to take her to McDonald's for breakfast, but she changed her mind. All she wanted to do was sleep in the car, so he let her sleep. He took her to school and dropped her off where he said he dropped her off, and that was it.
And you had a 10:15 appointment for a blood draw?
Yes.
And did you go anywhere else prior to getting to your appointment for your blood draw? Did you go directly there or not directly there? That's basically the question.
Oh, I went directly there.
All right. And after your blood draw, did you go directly back home?
Yes.
About what time did you get home?
Sometime between 11:15 and 11:30.
Did you have any other appointments or doctor's appointments later in the day?
I was supposed to have had one, but I canceled it
When did you cancel it?
that same day
Why did you cancel it?
because it was a $350 Botox appointment that I didn't want to spend the money on. I changed my mind last second.
Okay. When you get home from your blood draw appointment, is there anybody else at your home?
When I get home from blood draw, yes, Stefan was home.
All right. And can you describe what he's wearing, what he's doing, his demeanor, what's going on?
I can't recall what he's wearing. It might be a red shirt with a graphic on it.
Okay.
He's sitting in my bedroom on my desk.
Prior to you getting there, he's in your room? Or is that where you guys go to talk?
That he was hanging out there in my room.
Okay.
My room is kind of like the general hangout spot.
Okay.
I walk into my room. He's sitting there on the computer chair. He's talking, acting normal, asking about the morning and how everything went, and that he let me know the errands that he ran that morning or what he was up to.
And what did he say he was up to?
He said he had dropped Maddie off at school and then afterwards went to a vape shop so he can buy vaping things.
Okay.
But that the store wasn't open, so he waited a long time for them to open. They never did. So he drove around, killed time, and then eventually made it back to my house at like 10:20. When later on, when I got home and he was home, we started discussing, or he started telling me that he was going to go back out to run a few more errands in a little bit down 182. And he gave me the name of a few stores that he might stop at. And I'm like, okay. I asked him if he wanted to meet me at my house by 2:30 so that we can go pick up Maddie from school together. And he said, yeah, he'll be back by 2:30. And I said, okay.
So was that the plan, to get her together, or was it ever discussed that he would get her alone?
The plan was for us to get her together.
Okay. All right. And so does he leave before you leave?
Actually, before this, while we were still discussing, while we were having the conversation in my room, he did mention at one point while he was sitting there, that he had to reboot his phone, or that he had to update his phone. And what was it? He had to update his phone. So I told him, stop avoiding it, do it. Like, updates take a while. Like, do it. And while he was updating his phone, he said, I don't know what I did, but I just factory reset my phone. And I said, that's weird. I didn't know that you could do that. He said, yeah, a button popped up and I pressed it and it just reset my entire phone. And I'm like, oh, that sucks.
So does he leave before you do to go do these errands he was telling you about?
Yes, he does leave.
Do you stay at home until it's time to go get Madeline?
Yes.
Do you hear anything from Stefan while he's out doing these errands?
No.
Okay. So 2:30 rolls around. Is Stefan back home yet?
No. At this point, I leave.
Do you try and call him or text him or communicate with him?
Yeah, I had been calling him, like, maybe starting 15 minutes before I was supposed to leave, just to see where he was.
Did he answer?
No. I leave at 2:30. Around 10 minutes later, I get a phone call from him. And he said, I'm so sorry. I left my phone at home again on accident. I was driving down 192 and my tire exploded or shredded. And I had to pull over into one of the plazas and change my tire. He said he hurt his thumb doing that.
Okay.
And that, he was late and didn't make it back on time for that reason.
All right. When you leave to go pick Madeline up at 2:30, do you take her phone with you?
I do.
And how is it that you come to get her phone to go with you?
At some point in the morning, I was organizing and putting things away, and I walked into her bedroom and I saw her phone on her dresser. And I just assumed, oh, she must have left it here while getting dressed and forgot it.
Okay. Was it on?
Yes.
So she was organizing and putting things away, and that's how she saw Maddie's phone. But didn't see Maddie's crock in the bedroom. I know I shouldn't be so stuck on that crock in her bedroom, but I cannot help it. Like, you're organizing, you're putting stuff in Maddie's space, and you see her phone is there, but you don't see her crock in your room. Oh my God.
And sometimes when you bump or move phones, the notification screen comes up. Did you happen to do that, and did you see if there was any incoming notifications that she had missed?
I hadn't seen any, no.
Okay. All right. So you go to school, and due to time constraints, like an NFL football game, we're going to kind of jump ahead a little bit. My understanding is that you want to be first in line, and you have to get there early to do that, and I understand that.
Yeah.
She doesn't come out.
She doesn't know.
Did you call her phone?
I did.
Why did you do that?
Because I forgot I had it with me. I was like, where is she? Why isn't she out yet? So I start calling her phone, and then I start realizing I'm hearing vibrating, and then I look down, and I see her phone's with me. I'm like,
Okay, but that is a total me thing. I would have done the exact same thing. Like, legitimately, if I'm expecting my kid to come out of school, or just any time, like, I'm expecting them to be done with whatever, and they're not out like they're supposed to be, I would totally call the phone, even though I have it right next to me, because that is a total me thing. And I do believe that she probably did do that. And again, even at this point, if she didn't know something happened, I think at some time between her reporting Maddie missing and her being recovered, that Jen knew something that she wasn't letting on. But at this point, I don't know. I don't know what kind of conversation they really had when he reset his phone. Like, trying really hard to give her the benefit of the doubt here, but it's hard.
Okay.
how am I going to get a hold of her? Because I'm the first in line. The cars behind me already have children. They're full. They're waiting for me to leave.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to kind of jump ahead. Did Madeline ever complain to you about believing that Stefan had taken her Christmas money?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
Christmas money went missing. And we were both, I don't even know how to explain this. We had collected all of her envelopes with Christmas money and consolidated into one. I'll put all her money into one.
Yep.
And then I said, I will put this somewhere safe. And I thought I had put it in my nightstand. A few days later comes around, whatever. We start looking for it or asking for it or something like that, and we can't find it. We can't find it at all.
So let me just narrow it down. Did she accuse Stefan of taking it?
I'm not sure if she did directly. We both had the suspicion, but we're like, no, could he have? No, I don't think so. But I eventually found that money.
Okay, I was just gonna, how did the mystery end? All right, so you had just started this job at Disney Coronado Springs like a week or two earlier, is that right?
Yes.
And your sister and other family members would help with Maddie getting to school because of your job?
Yes, my mom and my sister, yes.
Okay. Why is it that now Stefan on February 26th is coming up to help as opposed to any of your family members helping getting Madeline to school?
I had asked for him to come and help me because I think I was working a lot of night shifts or like really late shifts. And I just wanted the opportunity to see Maddie, like, because I wanted to spend more time with my daughter throughout the week while I was working, versus had she had stayed at my mom's, I wouldn't have seen her all week.
Okay.
So that was just me wanting to see her and spend time with her.
Did Madeline stay at your mom's house fairly frequently?
Every few weekends here and there, like just for the weekend kind of thing.
So like if she described it to her friends as like her second home and like kind of offer up it's better jacuzzi and pool, does that sound like that's the place?
Yes.
Where does Madeline sleep when she's over at your mom's?
She will sleep in bed with my mom.
Okay. Did she ever have sleepovers? Like have friends come over and sleep over?
Slumber parties, no.
Did she ever go and attend any?
No.
Is there any particular reason? I mean, she's a 12-year-old girl on the cusp of being 13.
Yeah, I've been very uncomfortable with sleepovers just because I know what can happen. Anything can happen in a sleepover.
Well, then you can be the host house like we kind of were.
Oh my God. Okay. Can we talk about how dumb that sounds? I was against sleepovers because I know what kind of stuff can happen at a sleepover. But she's sleeping with a grown man alone in a bed upstairs. That's me pounding my palm against my head. That makes no sense. She wouldn't let her go to sleepovers because she knows what can happen at a sleepover, but wasn't thinking anything was happening, sending her 12-year-old upstairs with a 37-year-old. Mary, Mother, Joseph. And also, Mary, Mother, and Joseph. That didn't make any sense. Anyway. Also, so Maddie slept with her mom when she stayed at her grandma's. Do we have any verification of that? That's strange. I would have figured that she'd want to sleep there because she had her own space. But I just didn't let her do sleepovers because I know what can happen at sleepovers. All right, then. Sure.
You never hosted any sleepovers for her friends?
For her friends, no.
Did she ask about it?
Yeah, she did ask.
Was it probably a source of contention or arguments?
It was. I guess what was the source of argument is she wanted to really sleep over her best friend's house, and I just kept saying, no, you never know what could happen. I don't know the dad, I don't know the brother, I don't know anybody there. Like, I don't know what could happen to you. So, just afraid of her getting assaulted.
Okay. Did Madeline do her own laundry?
Yeah.
Did she cook for herself?
I was teaching her how to make a few things, so I mean, yeah, she could, I guess.
Okay. What's her normal routine for getting ready for bed?
We give her her meds.
I'm sorry, take your time.
We get ready for bed. I'd give her her medication. She would get in the shower.
Take a long shower, I understand.
Like an hour plus, yeah.
Okay.
She loved it. She'd get out, she'd get dressed, she'd let her hair towel dry for a while, and then she would brush it. We would watch some TV. She'd probably have a snack before bed as well.
Okay.
At this point, I kind of feel a little sad for Jen. And I know that that's probably going to give people a scrunchy face at me, but she lost her whole world. Even if she wasn't the best mom, even if she wasn't the most attentive mom, even if she allowed Maddie to have a perpetrator in her bed and didn't protect her the best way that she could have, Maddie was it. Maddie was all Jen had, and now she's gone. So hindsight, she's looking at these things that were Maddie. What Maddie had to do before bed, what Maddie had to do to get ready for school. Even if she wasn't the easiest kid, because, you know, some kids just are easy and some aren't. It's the luck of the draw sometimes. Sometimes they're great when they're little and they become heathens when they're teenagers, and then they're amazing adults. Sometimes they're really rough as little ones, they're really rough as teenagers, and they're really rough as adults. Sometimes they're really rough as kids, and then when they get to teenage years, they're great, and then they become amazing adults. It's a crapshoot. You don't know what kind of person that they're going to be. You just cultivate them, hopefully, the best that you can, and hope for the best, and hope that you created a human that can go out into the world and be a good person that, you know, is a contributing member to society. Or, you know, we all want our kids, for the most part, at least we should, want our children to do better for themselves than we did. We don't want to see them make the same mistakes that we made. We don't want to see them struggle in ways that we've struggled. We want better. And in this case, all of her eggs were in one basket. Everything was in Maddie. She only had another couple of years until Maddie was an adult and could go off and do things on her own. And now she's gone. In the blink of an eye, she goes to bed one night, she wakes up the next morning, and she's gone. So whether or not we think that, you know, she disassociated with her kid and she had been distancing herself for a long time from Maddie, doesn't mean that all of those feelings are going to be gone. Some of those feelings are going to remain, and they sneak up on you when you least expect them to. She can be having this conversation and be fine, and then all of a sudden she thinks of something that will never happen again, and it makes her sad. That's normal. It's something that, you know, non-sociopaths are going to feel. That even someone they were not emotionally connected to strongly, they're going to have those moments that this kind of sucks. They're not here. They're never going to do this again. They're never going to drink fruit punch again. She's never going to brush her hair again. She's never going to sing along to her favorite Taylor Swift song again. There are things that Maddie's never going to do again. And Jen's going to miss that. Even if they weren't close, it's still things she's going to miss. So in a way right now in this moment, I feel kind of bad for Jen. because her everything is gone.
What were kind of her nighttime uniforms? I mean, everybody kind of has their pajamas, but they're not necessarily pajamas. What was her routine nightwear?
She really liked wearing shorts. So she had a few pajama outfits, but she really liked wearing shorts and baggy t-shirts.
Okay. How about her routine getting ready for school in the morning? What's that about?
We'd wake up, the alarm would start ringing around 7:30. We'd snooze it up until 8 o'clock. Then she'd get up, she'd get dressed, and then she'd lay back down in bed while she would wait for me to make her breakfast.
So she's a breakfast eater?
Yes.
Okay.
She'd have breakfast, then she would start, with brushing her hair, brushing her teeth, putting on makeup. At 5, I would give her ADHD medications for school.
Is that every day or just school days? So it sounds like you're heading out like 8:45 or 9?
Yes.
And it takes like, what did you say, 15, 20 minutes to get to school?
Yes.
And first bell's 9:38?
9:20.
Something like that?
9:20,
Okay.
yeah.
So on Monday the 26th,
I'm going to pause right there. What is with these janky, weird times to start school? School starts at 9:28. I will never forget my high school. Went to an all-girls Catholic high school. 8:13. That was our start time. 8:13. And let me tell you, as a kid who had to ride the bus from way out in the country, by the time I got to school, I would have been on the bus for almost 2 hours by the time I finally get to school. And that was changing the bus 3 times. Okay? That 8:13 was like a blessing because it felt like it wasn't 8:10. I had 3 minutes to haul ass to my locker, put everything in there, and grab the books that I needed for the first 2 periods because thank God, we had block scheduling. So in the morning, I would have 2 one-hour classes, and then I would have a shorter class, then I would have lunch, and then I would have another 2 classes. So that's kind of how our days were broken up, I think. I really liked when I had the humanities class because that was a longer class and it meant that, I didn't have to worry about changing classes and running all the way from one side of the building to the other. We had 2 minutes. But the 8:13 or the 9:28 makes me laugh because we started at 8:13 and I always thought, what kind of a weird, funky time is that to start class? So if you're this far in my video and you ever want to leave a comment, let me know. What did your school start at a weird time? Because I think that's a weird time. Not 8:20, not 8:30, not 9:10, not 9:30, 9:28.
7:30 seems like a really early time to depart to go to middle school, even if you're getting Mickey D's. What was the discussion about when Stefan and Madeline were going to leave on the 26th?
There wasn't one.
So you didn't know anything about these plans, or did you? Or
I knew that they were going to go to McDonald's, but not 7 o'clock in the morning. That wasn't.
okay.
I had assumed like 8 o'clock. But even then, 8 o'clock is kind of early, like 8:30, because you could just go to McDonald's, be done by 9, and then drop her off at school. Because McDonald's is right the block away from the school. So
And Madeline's not driving, so she can eat while she's riding.
Yeah. So I don't.
And she takes about an hour to get ready in the morning?
Mhm.
Yes?
Yes.
So if they were leaving at 7:30, you'd think she'd have to get up at 6:30 to get ready and go through a routine, right?
Yeah, that's extremely early.
Okay. And is that what Stefan told you after these events unfolded? Was that they left early, like 7:30? What did he ever tell you?
It was early. I can't remember the time. I think I dropped her off in front of her school sometime between 8:15 and 8:45.
You say I. What do you mean by that? Did you drop her off that
No,
morning?
I'm speaking, sorry.
Okay.
As what Stefan was telling me. Stefan let me know that he dropped her off sometime between 8:15 and 8:45 on the road by the church close to her school.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember asking him, why so early? That's too early. School doesn't start until 9:30. Why did you drop her out that early? Oh, I don't know. We just left the house and made good time. I wasn't paying attention to the clock.
Okay. Did Madeline ever have like effects from taking the hydroxyzine in the morning? Like still be kind of sluggish?
Yes.
How often would that occur? Was that like every morning or not every morning?
Not every morning. If we happen to give her medication later than normal than routine, that would happen. But
Okay. And were there ever any instances where she had taken too much of the medicine? Perhaps you and Stefan had given her medicine, not knowing that the other person had?
yes, that's happened once
How many?
before.
Just once or more?
I want to say once.
Okay. Were you taking medicinal marijuana in pill form at any point, or THC?
Yes.
And what do those pills or tablets or capsules look like?
They're purple capsules.
Did you ever suspect or confront Stefan about giving those medications to Madeline?
No.
So during this incident where Madeline had been double dosed with hydroxyzine, do you recall any conversation you had with Stefan and inquiring as to whether or not he had accidentally given her any of your THC?
That had
Whoa. What? Okay, so why are medications together like that? So, like, if you have a medicine cabinet or you have a shared space, and you're talking about a minor child here, so you're going to not want to give your medication to your minor child on accident. Why wouldn't they be separated? Like, especially when you're taking something like THC in a pill form or whatever. That isn't anything that should just accidentally occur. So, again, this is my first time listening to this. That's pretty shocking to me that she could have been double dosed with something or given something like the marijuana on accident. Those things shouldn't even be in the same realm of possible by being together. That's crazy.
occurred to me. I had asked him the one morning Maddie wouldn't wake up and get ready for school, and she was just out of it. I assumed it was medication related.
Okay.
But I didn't realize, I'm like, did this one medication hit her too hard because we gave it to her late? I called poison control.
Mhm.
I needed to see what would happen. Because at this point, I think I had gotten Stefan to admit that he gave her a second dose of the sleeping meds as well, because he thought I had given it to her in the first place.
Okay.
But that was with hydroxyzine. I didn't know anything about THC, the marijuana.
I'm just asking you.
Oh.
I'm asking if you remember having that conversation, because there is a conversation on your phone about you were relaying that Madeline said that she suspected that it was different bigger pills, and you relayed that to Stefan and had a conversation with him. And if you don't remember it because it was a year ago, that's fine. My next question is,
So she would have been, if it was a year ago, she would have been 11, barely 12 when that occurred. I mean, good on Jen for calling poison control, because, you know, she freaked out this shit too much. Which does correlate, I guess, with her whole, we oversaw Maddie taking her meds because I was afraid she was going to take the wrong thing or take too much. The take too much now makes sense. But this is why you shouldn't have more than one person giving meds like that then, because, and especially someone, not like someone like Stefan. Stefan can't see his ass from his elbow. So he probably shouldn't be giving a minor medication anyway, but there's a lot of things Stefan shouldn't have been doing. Holy crap.
You have 2 female roommates,
Yes.
and one of them has a child, a son that sleeps part-time over there.
Yes.
And so my understanding is they're kind of, it's like a, I don't know what to call it, like a bed and breakfast. There's numbers on the doors upstairs.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, to make it easier for the roommates, I just labeled each bedroom.
So they're in 2 and 3.
Yes.
All right. Now, bedroom number 4. At one point, you told the police that your sister was staying with you, and that's why the sleeping arrangements were as they were. Was your sister ever staying with you, or did I misunderstand what you said?
No, my sister wasn't staying with me.
Okay. So let me ask you this. At what point did Madeline's bedroom kind of become the living room? When did that setup start?
I think as soon as a few months into us moving back into that townhouse.
And when would that have been?
Let's say June of sometime in 2022, but I'm not sure when.
Okay. It's my understanding that it's December of 2022 that you and Stefan kind of break up,
Yes.
but he still remains in the townhome.
Yes.
Why is that?
So even though we were broken up, I still considered him one of my best friends. I wanted to give him the opportunity to live there, and he had just he had gotten a job at Disney and was doing well,
Okay.
and I didn't want him to continue to lose that because he had been struggling for a long time to get a job or do anything because his own mental health issues.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give him a chance to like do something, be something. So
Did he pay rent?
yes,
How much rent did he pay?
$600 a month.
All right.
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
No footsies.
Like long legs.
So in December of 2022, kind of when the breakup happens, prior to that, what were the sleeping arrangements in your home? Was he sleeping in your bedroom as a couple?
Yes.
So who's in bedroom number 4, if anybody?
I think that room remained empty for a while. For a little bit, there was another roommate there, but it remained empty for the most part.
And were your female roommates already there in 2 and 3?
Yes.
Why doesn't Madeline have that bedroom 4?
I wanted her to have bedroom 4, but my dad really wanted rent. That whole unit that I live in is owned by my father.
Okay. So let me
I don't know if I believe that, because if he wanted it for rent, Stefan wasn't always paying rent and living there. And she considered it a quote guest bedroom. I mean, her father's not there to confirm or deny this. But I don't see how her dad would have been like, I don't want space for Maddie, I want rent. Because if that was the case, he would have rented it out to another female. Because it was supposed to be a female-only place, which was why Angelica was like, if he's going to be here, I don't want to share my bathroom with him. I'll share it with Maddie or another woman, but I'm not sharing it with him. So I suspect that, and I will maintain that the room should have been used for Maddie. And that was the intention, and not because her dad wanted it for rent. So when she said she stopped having sex with him in December 2022, mainly because of her meds. It was also they had broken up at that point. Okay, well, there's some clarifying.
ask you this. Do you pay your father anything to live there, or does he just handle the collecting the rent from your rentees,
Yeah,
lessees, whatever they are?
I pay him rent as well.
Okay. What do you pay for the rent?
My portion of the rent was $400 a month.
All right. And what do the two female roommates pay?
$850 and $650.
Okay. Prior to Madeline having her own bedroom set up in the living room, where was she sleeping in that townhome?
In my bed with me.
Okay. And this is during a time frame when you were together with Stefan, so is it the three of you every night?
Well, when we had first moved in, it was just me and Maddie, so it was just me and her on the bed. Then I think we eventually got her own bedroom. Stefan moves in eventually, and then, yeah, at that point, it does become the three of us on the bed.
Okay. So Madeline's 12, and she has her own bedroom. And how often is she sleeping in her own bed alone?
Hardly. She doesn't like sleeping alone. And she doesn't like the living room. It's too big, too quiet. She says it would be too dark and that there would be spiders. She would see spiders, so...
So you say hardly. Were there ever nights where she just slept alone in her bed? Or is it 100%? Because there's a difference between hardly ever and 100% to me.
If she ever slept on that bed, it was like once.
Okay. All right. So now you've broken up with Stefan in December of 2022, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's still paying rent, and he's there full-time in bedroom number 4. Is that where he goes after you break up?
No, he stayed in my room for a few months. We had broken up, but we weren't sure how to discuss it with Maddie because it was the middle of the school year, and I didn't want to affect her in any way.
Mm-hmm.
So we just played it off, acted like everything was normal and fine for the first 6 months. And then eventually she caught on, and then once she did, we admitted to her that we were broken up. And then, at that point is when he moved up to bedroom 4.
Okay. And once he moved up to bedroom 4, were there instances where Madeline would sleep alone upstairs with him?
I'm gonna say
I want you to think carefully before you answer, because obviously we've gone through your phone and we've seen all the conversations that you've had with Stefan, so it's clear that that's occurring. So I'm giving you the chance to answer the question.
yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how many times it's happened.
Okay. Why are you allowing that to occur?
I saw Stefan as someone that I completely trusted with my life, my child's life. I thought he had cared for her as a father would. He had been in her life for more than half of it, playing the father role. I thought he cared for her the way I did.
Now, does there come a point in time in 2023 where you've kind of had enough of roommate ex-boyfriend Stefan and ask him to hit the road?
Yes.
And is that fair to say it was like October?
Maybe like the end of October, because then I gave him all of November and told him he had to be out by December 1st, kind of thing. But yeah, that sounds about right.
And then did you kind of ask him to leave a month earlier and it was a source of arguments?
Yes.
Okay. So now at this point in time when he's being asked to leave, have you had any conversation with Maddie that mommy isn't together with Stefan anymore and this is kind of the ways of the world? Do you have that conversation with her?
She had, by June, she figured it out already, so she knew we weren't together or anything like that. So by December, yeah, she had already known he was leaving,
Okay.
but that was okay.
Why is he coming back to visit after he's out?
we're still friendly with each other at this point. Christmas is coming up, and we wanted to spend Christmas together. So he comes up for a few days during Christmas, and then he does visit a few more times after that, but for the day. And it's to pick up packages. He keeps getting mail delivered to my house, packages. So he just comes up and picks them up.
And when he comes to visit after he's been kind of kicked out, is he paying rent, or how is this working, or is he just coming to visit?
He's just coming to visit.
Is your father making any arrangements to rent bedroom number 4? Because this is his income that he's losing.
Yeah, we had it. We had like an ad posted to see if we can get any renters. So we were trying to rent it out, but then we had to stop.
And what happens if you had ended up renting room number 4? Is Stefan gonna still come up and visit you and sleep in your bed?
I don't know. I hadn't even thought of it at that point.
At one point you told investigators that Stefan was quote unquote stuck down there until they could afford for him to come back. Were there plans for him to come back?
We had discussed him coming back and living with me. We weren't sure if temporarily or like for me to help him out with the place for a little bit before he can find his own place and move out. Or we were also considering talking about living together as like a companionship. Like with my best friend who's helping me out with my child.
Because you told investigators that a lot of the reason your relationship fizzled off with Stefan was that your antidepressants. You had moved on to other people, had you not?
Yes.
And so despite having moved on with other people, you were still having Stefan come up and visit, and there were plans to cohabitate with him again, potentially.
Possibly, yes.
Maddie had the opportunity to go visit her biological father in the fall out in Texas. Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right. Do you remember texting the biological father, "Hope nobody touches Maddie or tries shit or films her under the bathroom"? You remember sending that text?
No.
That's specific. Considering that's how Stefan took pictures of Angelica.
Orange County Sheriff's Office back in February?
No.
Because that seems like a very oddly specific thing to text the father. So you didn't know anything about what was going on filming underneath bathroom doors?
No idea. I don't know why I would have texted that.
Okay. June 16th of last year, about 9:30 p.m.
Oh, actually, I can't actually think back to that.
Okay. What?
I think around the time that Maddie was going to fly out to Houston, there had been an airline person that had gone into the bathroom and placed their camera on the toilet to film. And I remember thinking, I don't want Maddie, I'm afraid of Maddie being alone on a plane, because what if an attendant does that to her? Says, hold on, let me fix something in the bathroom. And in reality, they're setting up a camera, because this did happen to a girl.
Okay.
So I want to say it may have been concerns over that.
Okay. Now, June 16th of last year at 9:30 p.m. and 27 seconds, you texted Stefan this: "Maddie's no longer sleeping with me. I can't risk it." What does that mean?
I have no idea.
How often was Maddie sleeping with you?
Often, all the time.
Well, you keep on saying often versus all the time. Was it 100% of the time or not 100% of the time?
If she wasn't with my mom and she was with me, then yeah, she was sleeping with me.
Okay. And if she's at mom, she's 100% of the time sleeping with mom? Your mom?
With my mom, or she does have her own room, I guess. Like there's another spare room she could use, but for the most part, she prefers to sleep with my mom.
Okay. Now, my understanding is that you had some sort of period tracker that you kept track of Madeline's period with?
I had a calendar app that I would write what days she would get her period, yeah.
And obviously, Madeline doesn't have a job, so she's not going out and buying the products that she would need if she had her period, right? You would have to do that for her?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
So, do you remember her using any of those products at all in February? Because I assume you take the trash out, or does she take the trash out, or how does all this work?
I take the trash out.
Okay, so I'm pausing because before he continues, I feel that this is a weirdly invasive thing, tracking her daughter's periods like this. Because at 12, chances are Maddie's been having them for about a year or two. So should be accustomed to the signs, what to look for, knowing that it's going to be a starting thing. Trackers kind of help with that. But the reasoning for Jen to know seems strange to me because, I have 3 daughters and exactly 0 times that I track their cycles. If we were getting low on supplies, I would see that we were getting low on supplies and we would just buy more. They also had some that they took to school and kept in their lockers, and they would tell me if they were getting kind of low. But I didn't track their cycles. I think that's invasive of privacy. It really was not my business to know that much about their body if they didn't want to share it. So the idea that Maddie was capable of having the same app on her own phone, she had one herself. This isn't 1987 where you're writing down on a calendar when your periods are. You have a tracking thing that keeps track of everything. I can look back on my cycles for the last 6 years if I want to. So I think it's strange that Jen also felt the need to track these when Maddie was just as capable of doing it herself. So this is strange to me.
In February, no, I didn't notice her using any of her feminine hygiene products.
Did you have any conversations with her about that?
No, but I didn't notice until after everything.
Because it would have been due at the beginning of February, and this all happens at the end of February, so she's almost due again in March. So you never had any conversations with her about not having her period at the beginning of February?
No, she's had other periods that have been missed or super late, so I just assumed this was going to be one of those situations again.
Okay.
But no, I didn't.
Did you ever discuss her periods or lack of periods with Stefan?
I don't think so.
It's my understanding that Maddie had to take Miralax. I'm familiar with that myself because of my daughter when she was little. So she had constipation issues?
Yeah.
Would it ever cause her discomfort, physical pain, bleeding?
Yes.
And how are you aware of that?
She would tell me. There have been moments. So we've gone to doctor's appointments. They've run a lot of tests on her. They told me why her body is doing what it's doing. But she's shown me if there was blood or if she's in the bathroom and she just can't go, it's stuck.
Mm-hmm.
She showed me that too. So
did she ever specifically seek treatment for tears or bleeding or anything due to her bowel movements?
no, I don't think so. Tears or anything like that, no.
Okay.
I don't think there was ever a tear.
Okay. On February 26th, the whole purpose of Stefan coming and taking Madeline to school was so that you could get some sleep. You had missed your medication Saturday night, so on and so forth, right?
Yes.
Is there any particular reason Stefan couldn't have driven your car to take Madeline to school and therefore not embarrass her and he could just drop her off normally?
Yes, but because he's not on my car insurance, I was very nervous to let him drive my car.
You did let him drive your car after this occurred though, right?
Yes, but he was very insistent because he wanted to go look for Maddie, and he had a spare on his car because he had a flat, so he couldn't drive his car. So he just really wanted to go out. So I just let him, but I wasn't comfortable with it.
Okay. During your previous interviews, and you did it once today, you kind of interchanged I, we, or Stefan dropping Madeline off at school. Did you see Madeline at all on February 26th of 2024, that Monday?
No.
Do you know anything about how she died?
No.
Did Stefan tell you anything about how she died?
No.
Did Stefan tell you about his plans to go back down to Northport in your car that Wednesday morning? Got any questions, Mark? I'm getting close.
I'm going to jump through, because I was making notes as we were going on. So how frequently did Stefan come up here after he moved back to Northport?
I'm going to say
How many times total do you think he came back here?
2 to 3 times.
Do you remember if those were around specific dates?
One was like the week of Christmas. I can't remember when the other one was.
Was Stefan in town the week or two prior to this last time he came?
I don't remember. It's possible, but I don't remember. Everything is becoming a blur.
Do you remember sending him a text message asking if he can babysit Maddie while you go have lunch with your friend?
This was a few weeks before. I remember going out a few weeks before. I don't remember asking him to babysit. I don't know where he was.
Did you ever go to lunch with your friend? And he babysat her?
I did go to lunch with my friend, but I don't think he was here. I think Maddie stayed home alone for a few hours.
Okay. When you mentioned Maddie caught on about you guys being broke up, how did that happen? What did she say, or?
I forgot. Me and Stefan were having a conversation, and she goes, "Are you guys broken up?" And we kind of looked at her, and we're like, "Why do you ask?" She goes, "Because you guys are kind of acting like you're broken up. You guys haven't hugged and kissed in a long time." And we're like, "Okay." So we just kind of.
How do you think she felt about that?
Fine. She didn't act sad or happy or anything. You're just like, whatever.
All right. Now you mentioned to me before too that you found her phone on her dresser in like her little bedroom area. Does she have a specific spot where she plugs in her phone to charge? How does she charge her phone?
So on her side of my bed, she's got a long charger. She'll connect it there to charge. Don't know how she charged it that night though. Don't know if she took her charger and moved it to the room upstairs. Not sure.
How do you charge your phone?
I charge my phone with my charger next to me on my side of the bed.
Okay, is it one that you plug in or?
The magnetic one.
Okay. Now, when you go to bed at night, is there any kind of routine that you do with your phone? If you're texting, looking on TikTok or whatever, and you go to bed, you just set your phone down and go to sleep, or what's that routine like?
I'll TikTok until I start dozing off, and then I'll put my phone on the charger, make sure my alarm's on, and then just lay down, close my eyes, and hope not to think of too much, just fall asleep.
Okay, that night, Saturday or Sunday night, when spending this half hour of time together, was all you that you were doing was talking about gifts and counting her money, or were you guys doing anything else?
Just asking her for more details about the party and to tell me like what I missed. She seemed like she had a really good time.
When you got home from work that day, where was everybody?
I think everyone was in my room, hanging out in my room.
Okay, everybody meaning.
Maddie and Stefan were in my room.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Now it's obvious that you and Stefan communicate via text message and phone calls and stuff like that. What is Google Meet?
What is Google Meet? That is like Google's version of FaceTime. So just face chatting.
Okay.
Video chatting.
Okay. When her birthday party was planned, was this planned before you got your job or after?
The birthday party?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was planned before. Because once I saw my schedule and I saw that it was during a training day, and I wasn't going to call out. I considered rescheduling the party, but my family was insistent to just keep it that day. And I said, okay.
All right, so Stefan moves out of his room, and I think you mentioned that your dad had plans on renting that room again to somebody else. Is that right?
Yeah.
How was that room set up? How was Stefan's room set up after he moved out?
Pretty much the
Best
same.
or-
Pretty much the same. The bed was in the same location. The
Okay.
TV, the dresser, the desk, and the mini fridge. Everything stayed in the same location.
Okay, was the bed, and did it have comforter, blankets, and all that stuff on it, or?
When he moved out, everything was empty. There was a mattress protector cover on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I had clean sheets and clean blankets to put on, like they're available. So
Where were they available?
in the closet.
Okay.
And I did, yeah. I let him know they were there.
Do you know if he made the bed?
I don't know, but I'm going to assume he. I don't know.
What did the blankets look like that would be used to make that bed?
They would be white cotton linen sheets with. They're white, but they're white stripes, different shades of white. So white stripes going down it. That was a fitted cover, then a sheet, and then the pillowcases. And it should have been like a warm blanket in the closet somewhere.
The same color, white or?
Maybe gray.
Okay. When you say there's pillowcases, how many pillows were on the bed?
I'm not sure. I know that we had taken things out of that room before. I don't know if we used those pillows. I'm not sure what pillows were up there.
Okay. Did you ever go into the room after you discovered that she was missing? Did you go upstairs to that bedroom? No. Okay. So when you go to sleep in your room, and you're either with Maddie or without Maddie or with Stefan, is your door open, closed, lights on, lights off?
When I go to sleep?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a cat. I can't shut the door. I have to leave it cracked.
Mm-hmm.
So it stays cracked with a door stopper behind it so it doesn't open all the way because my cat will just knock it over. Yeah, but we sleep with the door cracked.
Okay, lights on, lights off?
Lights off with a YouTube video playing in the background, playing rain sounds.
Okay, would the screen be illuminated, or is it something where a screen, like a phone, where the screen goes black and it still plays?
It goes black, yeah. So
Okay. Do you remember it happened that night if you were listening to those YouTube videos, or?
listen to it every night, so I probably was.
Does it shut off automatically?
Around like 4 or 5 a.m. But then I'll notice and I'll press play again.
Okay. Is it fair to say that you're easily woken up or no? By sounds like that, or?
I'm not sure if I'm easily woken up. I don't know.
Okay. Now, the purpose of you telling or having Maddie sleep with Stefan upstairs is because you told me before that you needed a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
If you needed this kind of sleep previously to when Stefan wasn't there, what would happen?
You mean if Stefan wasn't there and I needed this good night's sleep?
Mm-hmm.
It depends. If I had missed my meds the way I missed them at night and I wasn't feeling, or I was feeling just how I was feeling, I'm not sure if I would have had her sleep, have her sleep with me on the other side of the bed, or if I would have sent her upstairs to the guest room. But she sleeps like a monkey. She rolls. She'll start on one end of the bed and end up on top of me by the end of the night. And she's a gymnast, I guess. But
Have you ever sent her upstairs to sleep?
not for any of these reasons.
Have you ever sent her upstairs to sleep by herself?
Alone?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna need to wrap this up.
Okay, one more question. Does anybody use your phone other than you?
No, except for the day that we were sitting in front of my house and forensics was in the house. That was the only time I've ever let anyone use my phone, and that was Stefan. Stefan had my phone.
What about, do you wear an Apple Watch?
Yes.
Does it track any of your movements or anything like that you know of? Do you sleep with your watch on?
No, I hardly ever put it on, honestly.
Okay. All right. I don't have anything else.
Do you have anything real quick, Danielle?
No.
Do you have anything that you think we should know, Matthews?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay. Good down there?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, it's 10:06 a.m. We will conclude this investigative subpoena interview with you, Ms. Soto. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Helps if I'm not muted. Okay, well that wraps up the 8 hours and 27 minutes that I somehow turned into probably closer to 12 hours with my commentary. Thanks for watching it. Please hit the subscribe button, the like, leave your comments. Kind of help me grow because I'm brand new at this. I'm not sure what I'm going to tackle next as far as the Maddie Soto case goes. It might be... I really don't like Stefan, so it might end up being the roommates first. Either roommates. I do at some point want to do the friends of Maddie, but I really actually hate that video. And the reason I hate that video is it sounds like they're outside and all of the lawn equipment is like right behind them. Because I swear there's, you know, people chopping down trees or something going on in the background there, and it's really very distracting to me and loud and annoying. So I will probably do those two. I kind of want to add more because hopefully this man goes to court on the 5th of May. I kind of want to be prepared for that. I will also do some videos with documents, but there are other cases that I want to talk about. I said earlier, there's the Brian Koberger and the Idaho 4. There's Naziah Harris. I want to touch on her case. And now there's Kamani Lateef out of Toledo, Ohio. Super close to home for me. That hits super close to home. I have family that lives in Toledo, Ohio, and good friends. So that one's tough. And there's other things that are going on. I want to cover some Lori Vallow. That nutcase has been in in court again. I've only watched a little bit of her trial. So I will probably recap all of that too at some point. So again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.